Hey, welcome everyone to the Sketch Zone podcast. I'm Carlos Gomez. With us this week, we're going to catch up to one of my buddies from back in the day. That, my friends, is Mike Meyers.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
so
man.
many people I want to thank. What's up, man? It's good to see you again.
So before we let him get too unruly, let's go ahead and welcome Charlie B. Williams III.
What's up, nation? I'm here. It's another week. Happy to be here. It's almost Friday.
Yeah, son.
Thank God for short weeks.
Yeah, right. Also, we have Jack Kasperzak.
Dude, I'm here. I'm wearing pants today.
I mean,
If he's wearing pants, I'm out, man.
okay, cool.
I was promised no pants.
Okay, cool.
Hello, Noel.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you're like Noel and you're already watching the show and you want to interact with us on the chat, feel free to do so. Otherwise, that's right. You can use the Sketch Zone hotline. That's 408 Sketch X 408 753 8248. International callers 011 408 753 8248. Welcome, everyone. Let's go ahead and get into.
Let's go into the canvas here and let's get started. I believe every day's a good day when you paint.
That's right, folks. Fun prompt for this week
Yes.
is retro chicken in a pantry.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot this week, but they were all really good.
Yeah, these were legit.
Yeah, it was.
So obviously, this one, big surprise, Shiloh came in with this house on fire.
Killed it.
Absolute heat.
Mhm.
Throwback with a little newspaper look and feel. Got the halftones happening.
Yeah.
Good old fashioned cornflakes.
Mhm.
Do cornflakes still have that rooster on them? I don't know. I don't need cornflakes.
I think so.
Anyway, brilliant artistry there, my friend.
Yeah. Good job, Shiloh.
Shiloh crushed it.
Mhm.
Let's see who else chimed in. This one.
Yeah,
This one's on another level. Sorry, we gotta give it. They win the prop of the week for me.
Iggy Doodles did not just walk through the door. He kicked it down and set that shit on fire.
Yo, Iggy was just like, "Let me take you way back."
Yeah. He's like, you guys be crushing on Shiloh a little too much. Here's some heat. Bye-ow.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nice little throwback. Good job, Iggy Doodles.
Yeah, that was a good one. It looks.
Let's
if
see
I
who
didn't,
else
if I
chimed
didn't
in.
know better, I would have thought that was like an old school screenshot.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought.
Yours truly coming in with some good old-fashioned white hen pantry.
Look at you with your Photoshop skills.
I had to like
see
look
that?
at it again. I was like, "Why is there a photo?" I'm like, what is
So when I first saw this, I thought you just happened to find a real white hen pantry or something, and you were like, "Oh, look, it's the fun prompt," like making a joke. And then I saw the ad, and I was like, "Oh wait, that's his drawing."
So yeah, fried chicken action. Boom, fresh fried chicken.
You know, the white hen always got to tell you it's fresh. Like,
And if you don't know,
that
because
means
I
it's
don't
probably
know,
not fresh.
I don't know how you.
That's a lie.
It's like heat
I
lamp
don't know
fresh.
how far. I don't know how far White Hen Pantry reaches, but I know they're pretty big in Illinois. But White Hen Pantry is
Oh, I
just
thought
like
you meant how far they reach with their advertisement, like how far they push the word fresh.
yeah, no, their advertisement goes about.
Yo,
Ain't
that
nothing
was
fresh in the white hen pantry.
I was fresh yesterday morning.
And even then, it wrote on a truck for
And by yesterday, he means 3 months ago.
Oh, look, it's still sweating. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so White Hen Pantry is a convenience store, and the thing that separates them from 7-Elevens and stuff is they're supposedly
much.
have this. Yeah, no, not really. But they supposedly have this, what is it, the cold cuts and stuff, that's supposed to be fresh and delicious.
That's
And
what
they do kind of make some bomb-ass sandwiches if you ask them to, but yeah. Anyway, that's eat at your own risk.
They used to sell garbage pail kids. You remember those?
The which ones?
Yeah, the
Garbage pail kids. You remember
Yeah.
those? They used to sell garbage pail kids. That was the only place that you could get them was White Hen.
Oh,
Pantry.
really?
Yeah. At least there was like around where I used to live.
Nice.
Everybody
Let's
probably
see.
doesn't remember what those are, so I'm just gonna
I
shut up.
remember
You're
that.
like,
I
what?
do. No,
I
I,
remember
do.
that.
I still. Oh no,
I
I
have
was
one
eating.
too.
No, I was like, I don't know what you guys talking about with this white hand. He's like, you lost me.
Right. And then Con Kane came in with this Magistry.
Little old the Slick Rick there.
Yeah, you see that?
Yo, I've seen Slick Rick's references or him. in
Slick
about
chick.
two or three different videos this week, and now I see this. It's like
Did you guys happen to see me and Slick
Marketing's
Rick
going.
doing Carlos's cartoon karaoke?
Oh yeah, we've seen it.
yeah,
But you should post the link again.
yeah. Put it in the show.
Maybe one of the coconutjustice.com. You'll see what we're talking about. So yeah, good job, Con Kane. So now
Oh, you didn't get mine. That was a late post. Sir. That's
hang
okay.
on, let's see.
Move on. Keep it rolling.
Keep moving. Don't worry about it.
It's not. Hang on, let's see.
Don't
It's
worry
okay.
about it.
Move on.
Let's get a new one.
Oh, there it is. Hold on, let's see.
What's up?
Gosh darn it.
Carlos, you messing up.
I know.
What are you looking
Here
for?
we go. You gotta
Is
report.
is
You
this
gotta
your
see-
first
we gotta
day,
see
dude?
everything.
Yes, it's Carlos.
Yeah,
First
it
day.
definitely is.
Not like
To be fair, I posted this real late, like half an hour ago.
Bam, there it is, y'all. Yeah. It was worth the wait.
Borrowed a little from that retro Mickey thing.
yeah. Little cheesy smile. Are those hands? and
Here we
lights?
go. Noel's and
Other hands.
fire again.
Hmm?
All right, so good job, Jack.
Looks like he has
That
his hands up
means
like, don't shoot. Okay.
that means Mike is going to help us pick a new fun prompt for the week.
Nice.
All right.
I need your skills,
So,
man.
Mike, this is what we've come to learn, that if you keep the selections down to 2 or 3, no one says bad words at us.
All right, so pick 5 or 6 then.
Yeah.
Dude, I like this dude. Yes.
I want to see the profanity, man. I want to see how creative people can get with insulting
All of
us.
them? We want to do all of them?
Yeah, check them all, man.
Have you ever
let's light it up,
Check
dude.
them all, man.
Yo, I
Light it
like
up.
Mike, man. See?
Wait,
Who's gonna read it?
Hey, wait.
Regal.
This actually kind of works. I kind of like it. The only one I don't like is action. A Regal Chameleon bounty hunter coiling in a mid-century modern limousine. I actually like it. Just wait.
Is it
Lock
Saturday
them all
already?
down. Swap action out. We can get this. We can work with this.
Yo, this is
Trembling.
Trembling.
Perfect.
Yo, he's in trouble.
What it's gonna be like. This is
Hunter's like,
literally everyone who's going to want to drive.
Like in
For
all
record,
honesty, though,
Shiloh.
like if you were a Regal Chameleon bounty hunter and mid-century in a limousine, you would be trembling too. Like you really don't have any other options at that point but to be scared out of your damn mind.
finally messed up. Tried to bring in the wrong person.
How to get this far?
Shiloh, when you watch this, it wasn't my fault.
So specific. They should be. Everybody should be good. Just
Right.
let's get
I mean, we gave you all the answers.
the Troy.
We'll see. We're gonna have like one entry.
Yo, mid-century modern. Yo, I kind of want to take a peek. Just one of these days, just let me see the list of words that's been each week. It's so specific.
What repository does this choose from? That's what I want to know. Like, how does it figure this out, man? Like, who populated this?
The gods.
All right.
The angry gods.
I've been trying to figure out what
Oh,
this
gods.
list looks like because the words that have come up, it's just made me chuckle each week.
It's the ghost of Bob Ross.
I love it. Mid-century modern limousine. Yo, this is such a dick move.
So I guess this is all my fault then, right? See, well, but you can place it back to Carlo.
Yeah, kinda.
You're good. You're
I
good.
expect people to bring out the big guns and really work it. You know what? Take pieces of it if you want. Just
Yeah.
have some fun.
If you're a quitter, you can take pieces of it.
You knew this was bound to happen.
I'm all about drawing a mid-century modern limousine. and a trembling chameleon bounty hunter.
A Regal.
Oh my God.
Okay, one more time. What is it?
Regal Chameleon Bounty Hunter, Trembling in a limousine, but in a mid-century modern style.
Let's go up to the canvas here and let's get started. I believe every day's a good day when you
paint.
Categories.
Everyone, my friend Mike is here.
Hello.
Hey, Mike. Welcome.
How's everybody doing today?
Good, man. How you doing?
A lot better now
I'm doing
that
all right.
we have a Regal Chameleon Bounty Hunter trembling in a limousine.
It's like 30 seconds.
That's not even possible, man.
That's not even possible.
You know, at this point, he's not even Regal anymore.
He's just angry.
You can't be
Angry
regal and
chameleon.
you can't be regal and tremble at the same time, man. It's just not a regal thing to do.
Well, maybe the limousine's trembling. Or maybe his victim is trembling.
Or his victim, yeah.
Maybe he needs to check
Yo.
his tires.
He's some weird reverse dog, the bounty hunter type. He drives around in the mid-century limousine.
We've only
Yeah,
been
well,
like what
it's
7 minutes and we've totally derailed at this point.
Yeah. Don't worry.
With that
It only
Johnson
gets
bit.
worse.
All right, great.
It's awesome.
Strap in, man. Perfect.
Everyone, we'll get you caught up. Noel, I don't know if we're going to have any stories, but we'll see. So Mike and I met when we both worked at Leo Burnett. And if you don't know what Leo Burnett is, Leo
Good
Burnett
life.
is the second largest ad agency on the planet.
Yeah, it's a big one, man. I mean, if anyone's going to name an ad agency, that's probably the one that they would know. It's funny, man. Like when you're in college and stuff, it's like your end all be all job. It's like, I have to work at Leo Burnett. If I don't get into Leo Burnett, and then you get into the industry and you realize there's a million great agencies out there. Not to take anything away from Leo, but yeah, it's not like the end all be all of advertising, but it's certainly a very well respected agency, and we did a lot of great work there, man. It was fun. I learned a lot at that place and did some really cool stuff. So nothing bad to say. And their Christmas parties, dude.
I heard they were epic.
Oh my
Yo.
god! All right, so here we go. I'll just
Story time.
It's story time. So I started. I worked there I worked at ARC, which is kind of like their sister company that handled all the online and digital stuff, and Leo kind of handled all the traditional stuff, and they're kind of one company. But I worked at ARC full time for a number of years, and then moved on, did some other stuff, and then came back and freelanced at Leo. And I came back and I started my freelancing gig. I want to say it was literally in like May. And I ran into this guy, Omari, that we used to work with. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be awesome? Literally day one, the first thing that I thought of was, man, wouldn't it be awesome if I could extend this freelance gig all the way up until December so I could go to they call it the breakfast. It's their holiday party. This is in like June. Right? I'm like, man, wouldn't it be awesome if I could just string this out for like another 6 months and make it like that's how good the holiday party was. Dude that I'm partnered with, right? So I'm a copywriter. Yeah, he's like, it literally is as good. So the guy that I'm partnered with, he's the art director, I'm the writer. He's like, what's so good about about this holiday party, man? He's like, at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of people you work with drinking. I'm like, just trust me, man, it's good. And so we started telling some stories, whatever. He's like, whatever. So months go on. Samsung was the client I was working for, and like this gig keeps getting extended. It's 2 weeks and it's a month and it's months at a time, and we're still working. It's coming up on the holiday party. I'm like, all right, it's gonna happen. Whole time, my buddy Matt's like, I just at the end of the day, it's literally just people you're working with. It's how good could it be? So finally, day shows up. I literally bought like a $1,400 brand new suit for this. Like everybody dresses up to the nines, man. Like, yes, dude, don't look at me like that because you know it's true.
You were like at
goes
9.5.
Everyone went all out, right?
Nice.
It's just the way it is, man. People just getting hammered in the office, drinking whiskey at like 8:30 in the morning, riding around on Ranger scooters. Like it's tremendous. So finally, it's like 3:30 in the afternoon. He and I are standing at it was House of Blues. They run out the entire House of Blues in Chicago. It's a massive venue. There's like 2,000 people there, probably, maybe even more. They have this crazy band like doing this light show on stage, and everybody's going. But it was literally felt like it was Rio at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm standing next to him having a drink, and I'm like, so he's like, all right, dude, you were right. he finally conceded after 6 months that it was that good. So anyway, that's the Burnett breakfast.
I want to say my first one, I went and was it the first or second one? I don't know. It doesn't even matter. I remember.
You remember
I remember this part. I remember being so hammered. I walked outside. I was drunk for so long. I was tired of being drunk, and I walked out, and I was like, "Holy shit! What time is it?" Someone said 7.
Yeah. I can't even tell you the amount of stuff I've seen at those parties, man. This guy walked out. He stumbled out of there at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he went to Best Buy and spent like $5,000 on a TV. Man, if you get hammered, like you can't go to Best Buy because it was like right around the corner, man. He must have seen that giant sign. Was like, oh, electronics. You know?
Yo, whoever was helping him, some dude was helping him. Was like, yo, I'm getting a sale today.
It wasn't even liquid courage. It was
Monday morning. They're like, oh, did you see so and so made out with so and so? Oh, I can't believe so and so hooked up. Like, dude, did you see the TV Jeff got?
TV Jeff
got. Oh, good times, man. I miss that place.
So when you were working there, you were a copywriter.
Yeah, I was a writer, and then moved on to I got like associate creative director, and then came back as basically doing like creative director, writer kind of stuff. So yeah, man, just working on a bunch of different campaigns, coming up with creative stuff. Partnered with a number of different really talented people over there. A ton of talented people over there.
Yeah, they did.
And yeah, it was fun. It was, and I think I was there for like 4 years, which is actually a pretty long tenure in an ad agency. It doesn't normally last that long. You end up getting laid off, or you quit, or move on to another place, or whatever. But yeah, it was fun. And then I ended up taking like another 2 or maybe even 3 turns back in there freelancing.
Oh, cool.
And that was a lot of fun too. So yeah, good times, man.
I was there for, I think I freelanced, or I was on contract for maybe a year, and then Jill kept asking like, hey, we're looking for 3 spots, so you might want to start looking at coming on full time. And I said, well, I'm making a lot of money doing contract. They were working the shit out of me.
Yeah. Were you getting hourly too?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's rare.
And I was working on all Philip Morris stuff. So everything was, I was working 10, 15 hours a day. And then, so I was making a killing. Philip Morris paid for my condo. Like it was.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like they don't do that anymore. It's all it's normally like weekly contracts or maybe a daily, but they rarely do hourly. I was pulling some work at Razorfish, and it was the same way, man. We were doing a lot of stuff, a lot of production stuff, and I was pulling anywhere from 85 to 123 hours a week.
Jeez.
Yeah. There's not many more than 123 hours in a week. So it was wild, man. We were getting work. We were turning out great work that's actually getting produced. And they paid for it, but it was worth it for everybody. Like nobody really complained.
Nice.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, we talk about this all the time. It's the hard part is how much you have to work, but the cool part is you're surrounded by so many talented, creative people that it doesn't even compute as work. It's just like, let's get this done, let's push, and then you're just making really cool shit all the time.
Yeah, if you're actually making stuff and it's getting produced, then yeah, it's super satisfying. Like I think where most creatives kind of get irritated, or where it does seem like work, is when you're turning out a bunch of stuff and it's not getting produced, and you end up having to go back to the drawing board over and over and over and over again. And then, it's like you've spent the last 6 months and then you have to reset. And it's like that 85 hour a week average for the last 6 months, the holidays I missed, the things I didn't get to do. I could have just
have nothing to show for it.
And there's nothing to show for it. And that's the part that gets the most frustrating, which is why I took a break from it for a hot minute, meaning 2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's gonna be both.
pleasing
So-
those clients are like.
So let's talk about the build up to making it to Leo Burnett. What was it that you wanted to be when you were a kid?
A magician.
Yes,
Nice.
Yeah, I was all about it, dude.
David Copperfield.
Did you have that? Well, now that we know you spent like $1,500 on an outfit just for a Leo breakfast, did you have like?
Dude,
your
I still
little
have
top
that
on?
suit, man.
You better.
You better.
Probably still fit amazing too.
Yeah, it's not bad, dude. I love that suit. It's not going out of style
Yeah,
anytime soon.
yeah, I bet.
No, I didn't have a top hat or a cane or a monocle. I was not Mr. Peanut or whatever you're trying to make me out to be. I wasn't pulling rabbits out of anything or whatever. I was just there to drink and have fun. But yeah, the magic thing was that never obviously panned out. I mean, you grow out of it like, hey, like maybe you want to eat, like, I mean, I'm not saying like you can't make a great living as a magician. I mean, there's a lot of people that do it, but it's like, it's a struggle. I was always really good at math and physics. And so I went into college as a civil engineering major. And I wasn't really digging it, man. Like, the math was just like really ethereal and nebulous, and I wasn't really digging the people that I was around, and I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. So I just kind of stumbled into like I think I asked someone, like went to those like counselors or something. They're like, you ever think about doing advertising? I was like, not really. But when you start thinking about like what goes into making an ad, like you're basically kind of getting paid to like color as a living, you're basically just creating cool stuff, and you can make a good amount of money from it. So that was it for me, man. I loved it. I got an internship between my junior and senior year at this awesome agency called Lois EJL. It was George Lois started that agency, and they did all the Corona spots they did with the Miles Away from Ordinary and the Find Your Latitude and the Palm Tree and like all those iconic ones. They had local Chevy with Michael Jordan Blazer. They had Cubs. They had Kahlua. I mean, they had like a bunch of really cool stuff. So I got as an intern there, which internships are way different back then, right? Like it wasn't like, oh yeah, like we have an intern program and here's all this stuff to do. It was basically like, here's my laundry, kid. Go take care of this for me and go wrap my Christmas presents and water these plants. And that was it. And if you had 2 seconds, I would just poke my head into the senior copywriter's office, whose his name was Craig Sprago. He's still in advertising. He's a really talented dude, and he and I would just work on stuff, and I ended up getting some stuff published, and they ended up hiring me, and that was kind of that. And then just bounced around to a few different agencies and ended up at Leo after like maybe it's probably like 5 or 6 years after I graduated. So that was that, man.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So did you end up going to school for design and all that stuff, or?
I actually went to school for advertising, which was stupid. I should have gone for like journalism or something because I knew I wanted to be a writer. Actually, I didn't know if I was going to wanted to be on the design side or the writing side. So I ended up going into the writing side, and I got a major that was worth absolutely nothing. Like I did not learn a single thing in college, literally nothing. That was nothing, nothing. I think you learn like exactly how much alcohol it will take to kill you, and then like you just stay just below that line, and like that's what you learn.
I always have that one.
Just take one half a step back, and then that's it. So I learned that, and then I went on into advertising.
That one bad experience is like, yo, don't drink that much anymore. Cool.
No, but it's like that's kind of you practice that experience a lot in advertising. People drink a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a valuable lesson to know when you go in there, because we worked with people that had little mini fridges under their desk that were stocked with all kinds of booze.
Yeah. Or not even maybe under their desk, maybe on their desk, or like right
maybe on their desk.
It wasn't like nobody was hiding anything, man. Like you're in an environment where you need to party because you're under a lot of stress, and the deadlines can be rough, and you're working a lot of hours, and you're going to be there 85 hours a week, man. You're going to have a beer once in a while.
Right. And you need to knock the edge off, because there's nothing worse than you work for 2 to 3 weeks every day of the week for 15, 16, 17 hours a day. And then after 2 weeks, you show the client, and then they come back and they say, no, it all needs to change. if you don't have something to bring you back down,
Right.
it's trouble.
Well, it's not even that too, man. It's like, you can't be a civil engineer and have a couple beers and you'd be like, hey, I'm gonna build this bridge, and like, you're drinking beer and like designing stuff. Like that's like, next thing you know, you got the Tacoma Bridge disaster. Like that, you can have a couple drinks. You can have a couple drinks or a pitcher of beer at lunch and come back and write a bunch of great ads. Like, so it's like that doesn't inhibit you in any way, and sometimes it actually makes your work better. So. To a point.
Yeah, you have to find ways to tap into that creativity.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different industry.
Ambien has proven not to be the answer.
What was it?
Ambien has proven not to be the answer.
Not so much. Not at all.
Creative tweets come out of Ambien.
Never taken it, never will.
Nice.
I mean,
maybe that's what's wrong with Trump. Maybe he's on Ambien and he's just firing off obscene tweets at like 2:00 in the morning, attacking the failing New York Times.
It's like sleepwalking.
Yeah, sleep tweeting.
Sleep tweeting. Yeah, exactly.
Tweeting.
They do think he's on some kind of diet medication that fucks with him.
Well, it ain't working.
It's not working. Yeah.
Could you imagine how much bigger he would be if he wasn't on him?
Nope.
Yo, Mike. Though.
Yeah. What's up?
Could you explain to everybody what goes into the role of being a copywriter, and when did you figure out in college, since we were talking about college, that okay, cool, I kind of like writing a lot, because you said you were going to make that transition right before.
Yeah. From being a civil engineer and being like ensconced in math and physics all day and like CAD programs to having a couple beers and firing off stupid headlines at 2:00 in the morning. Yeah, it's a bit of a leap. So, yeah, I think I was like sitting in CAD class one day. It's like looking at this thing that I knew I was going to copy from my roommate when he was sleeping in the middle of the night. So, I'm like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, yeah, all right, I did it, man.
So he wrote Napster.
Yeah, right. I just wasn't into. I wasn't going to be enjoying it. So I'd always I was always creative. I always like creative writing, and I always like doing that stuff. I just like math and physics more.
Okay.
Not to sound like a total tool. Science is cool, right? Maybe not. Whatever. Anyway. I thought science is cool now, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
No? All right. Whatever. Why do you want to make me feel bad about myself, man? I don't know if I'm really liking this.
Let's just work through this. Let's keep going.
All right, man. All right, cool. Yeah. So I was like, no, I mean, just the idea of advertising sounded cool, right? I mean, just you're firing up around a bunch of really creative ideas with people and trying to come up with something cool, and that's your job. I mean, like I said, it's basically like just a creative project that you might have had in school, and those were always the fun ones.
Yeah.
And I was always a decent writer, and that just kind of seemed like I would like it. I'll tell you what, though, man, University of Illinois sucked.
Yes. Let's talk about
This program sponsored by the University of Illinois. Come here. Sucks. I didn't get any kind of education there at all, but the internship sold it for me. Like that was awesome.
They help secure your
just,
internship, or is that from you too?
No, they didn't do. I cannot tell you how bad that school is. It is terrible.
Why is it?
Oh my god.
Was it just like a crappy program?
How long is this program? Like, how long can we go?
As long as you want it to be.
They employed professors and TAs that were terrible. It smelled bad. Oh, dude, they had these farms, man. It's like, I don't know if you know anything about Champaign-Urbana. I hope for your sake you don't, but it's in the middle of nowhere, and there's like it's like farm country. So you had all these cows out in like pasture, man, and then that breeze would blow from the south in the summer. Man, those cows were cooking it up. It was just like just giant cloud of funk smack you in the face like a pill bars. So it was terrible, man. It would lay you out all the time. The campus wasn't it was not a very nice campus. And I didn't learn anything. I tried to learn. I went to class. I stuck it out for like the first couple of years, and then I'm wasting my time. So I just limped through. I'm like, whatever. I almost dropped out. It was terrible. Don't go there. It's a bad school.
Is there anything good that came out of that school?
I mean, I minored in Spanish. I still speak Spanish well, almost fluently. I guess. I'm sure their Spanish curriculum wasn't any better than anybody else's. It's just a matter of like learning words. Around constant Spanish for an hour 3 times a week.
Yo, I love this. No, because people give art schools and for-profit schools so much crap all the time. I love that they're giving it right back to a non-profit school.
Even more.
They're not excused from this too.
Even the football team, number of wins my senior year, 0 wins. Man. They lost to like Indiana State, man, who shouldn't even be feeling. And I was going to go swim there.
They lost to Fort Wayne U.
Yeah, I was going to swim there because I swam in high school, and I was going to go to the swimming team there. That year, they got rid of the swimming team. They cut it.
They're getting rid of teams.
They got rid of the. Not because it was bad.
This
but because they said they didn't have enough funds.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, but apparently they had enough funds for the football team to field such a great team to literally not win a single game. So there's that.
I never heard of colleges just ending programs.
Yeah, they were just like, yeah,
we got to cut this fat.
I mean, it's not like it was field hockey, man. Like it was swimming. It was like, I mean, I'm not saying that like, you know, people are like, oh my God, swimming's on TV. Like, let's check it out. But you know, it's still, I thought like a relatively it's an Olympic sport.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Not interested.
Did they like close down?
They have facilities and stuff. Yeah. What are they going to do with all this water?
No, let's drain it out.
No, I mean, they still had the pool and stuff. They just didn't have a team.
Just didn't use it.
Yeah.
They just it was.
They used the water for Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, man. I guess I'm done right.
Can we use that pool area?
I played water polo there for a year, and then I just got tired of that, and then I just drank for the next 3 years.
I
gained 80 pounds.
Oh,
that's because they dropped the swim team.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
He was sad eating.
Dying.
That's just called depression.
Shoving in Papa John natural light ice by the caseload.
You know, whatever food he was eating was just adding to the weight.
It was Papa John's, man.
It was just a base, right? Papa John was just giving you a base for the rest.
That racist asshole made me fat.
Leave him alone. He wants his company back. He's trying to get it.
Dude, he earned that.
Oh my God. Okay. So after your delightful experience at college,
some of the best years of your life,
I dragged my fat ass into the real world. Yeah, man. And then it was back in advertising where I stayed fat for like 6 years, and then finally like got back on track physically, but mentally I never recovered. No, I mean it was. Yeah. I started working that agency I interned at, and then bounced around for a bit, and ended up at Leo, and then bounced around a number of different agencies freelancing, and then hung that up like 2 years ago on hiatus and started getting into photography instead.
Cool.
Do we want to go there already? Do you guys have any questions about what it takes to become a copywriter and a art director?
Yeah. What did you come in as after your intern? What was your role or your title?
Junior copywriter.
Oh, so he was just in so it's like a department. Okay, cool in itself.
Yeah, so they've got a few different departments. They've got the creative department, which basically like at the bottom level, you've got your graphic designers and your art directors, and they're generally paired with your copywriters, and then those teams kind of create all the work, right? So they kind of work as a team to create a banner ad or a TV spot or whatever. So somebody will write the script, and somebody will think visually what happens. And if the team's good enough, and if you've got good enough people, like sometimes I've worked on campaigns where I did the art direction, and you remember Omari, like Omari wrote some of the headlines. Like that's, if you've got like a really good partner and you guys are both like kind of switch, but generally that's how it works. And you've got your associate creative directors and creators above that. They foster the people that are working under them to just try to get the best work. And then you've got people ahead of that, like your SVP creative directors, and then you've got like your chief creative officers and stuff like that above that. So that's kind of the hierarchy. So I came in as a junior writer. I was making 23 grand a year. So I mean, you're just, you know,
just starting out,
scraping by on hot pockets and pure luck at that point.
How many Papa John's
hot pockets
pizzas?
could you? Yeah, no, they didn't have Papa John's in Chicago, man.
Hell no, they didn't.
No.
They didn't. They had Domino's.
No.
And I'll tell you what, there's this place called Clark Dog across the street from where I used to live, man. And that place was like my new Papa John. That place crushed me. They knew me in there. It was so bad. I was eating chili cheese fries and
Oh,
I don't talk. Those dark days, man.
You know what's crazy is not many people know about like the crinkly fries with the melted cheese on top.
oh, yo,
Do you know how
doesn't
many
know about
people
that?
don't know about that?
staple.
No,
Some people don't know about the crinkly fries. Yeah, it's like regional.
I mean, even fries with the melted cheese, the melted cheddar on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't
You
know
know
about
those. What are those fries called?
cheese fries.
No, the fry, the crinkly fry itself.
crinkle cut fries.
Yeah.
No, because Burger King brought them back, and they had the actual name. They got all like proper with it. I'm looking.
No.
Hold on.
Burger King needs to just stop it.
But that's what the fries are actually called, though. But like,
Yeah.
some people don't know. Who is it? Somebody else they never heard of the like crinkly fries. It's like, how do you not know these? I think he was from the South or somewhere.
So what was it like to you had a challenging experience at school, and then you actually did you grow up in Chicago?
Yeah, Naperville for the most part.
Cool. Another cool.
Wasn't that cool? Yeah. But
yeah, you can find just enough trouble in Naperville.
Can you?
Yeah, you can. What was it like going from a challenging situation at school to then moving to Chicago or moving back to the Chicago area and
yeah, I mean,
actually landing that gig?
it actually, like, I didn't want to go back to school my senior year just because I knew I was wasting my time there. So it's all I was really focused on was not failing out, just getting passing grades and just getting the hell out of there and then going to work at that agency. So I was just kind of like riding it out at school, you know, having fun and just kind of chilling out. So talking them about a job. I went and I interned again like over Christmas break that year, like my senior year. And then they offered me a job. And I was like, all right, cool. So I had everything lined up, getting out of school. And I think I graduated on like a Sunday and then started working on a Monday. And then I just was commuting like back and forth. I wanted to work. I wanted to go in that job. Like I wanted to be a copywriter. I wanted to be in that agency environment. It was awesome. Ad agencies have the coolest people working there. I mean, minds, people are into like a whole bunch of different stuff outside of what they're working on in, like, you know, the creative space. You've got, you know, photographers, people that are making their own music, you know, people that are into athletic stuff, and, you know, like you name it. Like there's just, you're in such a creative environment that you want to go into work, especially when you're that young, right? Like you haven't been kind of like beaten down by the process and you're just like full of enthusiasm and like you're just, oh yeah, let me write like 12 million headlines and this is like the best thing ever. And it's like, I still remember those days as some of the best days that I had, because you just have so much momentum and energy. So yeah, I was commuting back and forth from Naperville, you know, every day, and like just kind of saving up enough money. And then I moved downtown in October of that year, and some little rat hole apartment on Clark Street, and that was the end of that.
Yeah. For those folks that are trying to break into the advertising agency or the industry, there's just, it's an avalanche of ideas when you walk through the door. And good ones, sometimes good ones make it, sometimes good ones fail, and the crazy ones make it. It's a really weird, just like hodgepodge of creativity that goes back and forth. I remember one of the first things that I saw when I walked into ARC was we had pitched, and Burger King bought the idea of you pick up your phone and you hold it up to your grumbling tummy, and your phone would tell you what you want to order.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. The Grumble Translator, I think it was called.
Well, okay.
What year was this, man?
This was when did I start working there? It had to have been 2005 or 6-ish. It was right when the iPhone came out, and then they started right when we were able to build the apps for the iPhone. Right, okay. Whenever that was, like 2005 or 6, I want to say.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Maybe 7, but I want to say 2006. But yeah, it was
ahead of the curve with something like that.
it was hilarious, and we all looked at each other like I worked with that big Rob dude. I forget what his last name is, but anyway, Rob was the one.
Didn't they send him to Cannes that one year? Basically, like he would just do anything that anyone asked him to on Twitter. Wasn't that him?
I don't know. Rob, what was his name? I'll think of his name right now. We're on LinkedIn together. But anyway, so yeah, he was the lead developer on that, and we just looked at each other like, whoa, they bought that?
So did it get made?
I think so.
But you didn't work on it?
I think so. No, I was kind of like he would ask me for some creative stuff, but because usually what people did is they would hire me as a developer, and then they found out that I did design work, and then they would.
It's your task.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to extend your contracts, right? You go in. I went in as a developer, then they found out that I drew, so then they started using me for pitch work. I was doing a lot of preliminary ideas for, like, we were pitching to Blockbuster. That's how far back we went.
What's Blockbuster?
Clearly that went over real well.
How dare you?
It's kind of like Redbox.
But Blockbuster didn't buy anything.
So Carlos, right? So you're trying to tell me Carlos put Blockbuster out of business?
There you go.
That's right.
I did speak on it.
Actually, Blockbuster would have still been around if they were to listen to Carlos.
Oh, so they didn't.
You can see the writing on the wall with that, man. I remember walking in there one day, and this was, like years before they closed up, but I was just like, eventually this has to go away. Like, nobody's, like, when the pipeline gets big enough, nobody's going to go to the store to rent a videotape or a DVD.
Mm-hmm. And
they just, whatever reason, man.
You would think if they were smart, they would do what Amazon did and all the other places and just went online.
They should have been Netflix.
It could have been Netflix, yeah.
They should have been Netflix. Yeah. They had the customer base already. It was just a matter of, like, seeing the writing on the wall. It's like, look, the pipeline's getting bigger. People are downloading music and listening to it at home, meaning they're not going to, like, Crow's Nest and Tower Records and buying, like, CDs.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to. Like, how do you not see that coming?
You could have transferred everybody's Blockbuster card to
right online, and that would have been.
You just make your online account, and you know what happened? Show them everything they've already rented. You say, this is how we just kickstarted your library for you. So here it is.
Right. It would have been Blockbuster and chill. And then,
but you know what happened? If you guys remember, Enron actually got in on the whole Blockbuster thing, and when Enron went down, they took Blockbuster with them.
Wait, what?
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
the Enron owned Blockbuster or something?
I believe that they either bought Blockbuster, or because what happened. So for those folks that don't know, Enron was a huge
dick.
Yeah.
Huge.
They were a huge corporation that basically government and the stock market took their word for everything they said, and they were cooking books. They were saying that they were making an ungodly amount of money
overinflated
just to get people to invest in them. So now they had to start showing, it got to the point where they had to start showing some of the assets that they had. So then they ran out and they started buying things. So they bought things like Blockbuster. And if you also don't remember, especially Southern California, they used to have these horrible rolling brownouts and blackouts.
Right.
And they found out, well, bigger than they happen now, but they
we had a
found
lot of
out
rolling
that,
brownouts at University of Illinois too, man.
Dude, that's gonna be scary. In the middle of nowhere and you don't have no power.
That's why they milk the cows manually out there.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, they had like legit recordings of like an old lady from Southern California calling the energy company that was owned by Enron. And then they said, oh, she's complaining, watch this. And they would like flip the switch on her area, and that part of the grid went down. Yeah. If you guys are interested, there's a documentary called Smartest Men in the Room.
Oh yeah. Is that a skit?
Okay.
Watch that.
Add it to the queue, man. It's a good one. I've seen it.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay. So yeah, anyway, Enron needed to start showing where they're making all this money, all this fake money. So they ran out and they started trying to like buy up all of these companies, and Blockbuster was one of them. Because otherwise, Blockbuster was there. Like they had the stores all over the place. Imagine having a Netflix account. Netflix mails you your movies, and now you can either mail them back, or if you feel like taking them back to the store, they had the infrastructure there.
And they had that. That's the messed up part about it. They did have it and stuff. Yeah. And then like, so you used it for a while, like, and then you just drop it. It's so convenient, more so just it's like, oh, I drive right past it every day to work. I'll just drop it off instead of mailing it back in. But they started doing it. It's like bad management, bad leadership.
Too little, too late, man.
Yeah, nobody thought about it.
So, quick question: how the hell did we get on Blockbuster?
Because you had a project for Blockbuster.
Oh yeah, that's right. No. Okay,
you did it.
Yeah, sure.
We did a pitch, and so it was because of me that Enron bought them, and then
that's right. Yeah, you ruined everything.
Jack figured that out real quick.
Yeah.
I didn't even need the whole story to figure that out.
Got it. Dick.
So then you had a bad experience at school, and then you get into the professional.
I wouldn't say it's a bad experience. Like I had a lot of fun at school. Like I had a lot of fun, man. I had a lot of good friends there. Like my girlfriend that I had there was super cool. Like it was a good time. I just didn't learn anything. Like from an educational standpoint, it sucked. It was worthless. But yeah, okay. So that.
And then you went into the professional world, and you found out that they're working the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Was it everything that you wanted it to be? I mean, granted, there was a lot of time and effort put into your career, but that happens. Was it rewarding for you, or was it everything you wanted?
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like I didn't even think about this, but like now that I think back on it, like I wasn't working crazy hours until like I was probably in my late 20s. Like I remember getting out at normal times like before then. So maybe it's just the industry's gotten like that. I don't know. But yeah, it got to a point where it's just like it literally becomes when they start asking you to work weekends, or they're not even really asking you to work weekends, they're just telling you, hey, we're all coming in.
Yes.
And it starts to happen so frequently that it doesn't even register like this is messed up that I'm working this much and that I'm missing out on experiences that I should be having because work is taking up all this time. And I'm sure that's something that's not just germane to advertising. Like there's lots of professions that are like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like advertising as a creative, that's, you know, like we're always the ones that are there. Well, I guess developers too, just because that's the end of the line, right? When the site's got to go live and it's got the date, like, and they finally hand all the files over. you're the ones that have to put it up. Like, you know, you get screwed too. But yeah, I mean, the creatives kind of get the short end of the stick from that regard, and we're the ones that have to stay late and think of the stuff. And then, you know, if the client's like, oh, that's not what I wanted, and they change their mind or whatever, then you got to go back to the drawing board and start over, and they're not moving that deadline back.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're like, oh yeah, it took you 6 months to think of that idea and develop this entire campaign, and then we change our mind, and we're still telling you that you need to come up with the same amount of work in like a week. Then you've got to come up with it in a week. And it's like, you laugh, but like that's not like an unreasonable thing.
No.
Like, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
I was working on a project for whatever tobacco. It was one of the wintergreen chewing tobacco flavors, whatever. They said, okay, so we first quoted 3 months to do this. You have 3 weeks. Are you ready? And I said, can I work from home?
Yeah, I was on that project.
Yeah, whatever's about to happen is not going to be cute. It's not going to be pretty.
No, I remember that exact project. That was the digital creative lead on that, I believe. And yeah, it was they had something that we had 3 months to do, and then they changed it. They changed the entire direction of what we were doing, and then we had 3 weeks to do what we had been given 3 months to do previously. And it had to be done. Like, that was just that's how it works. I will tell you this though, like the flip side of that is you get to do some really cool stuff. Like easily the best time that I ever had was when I was working at an agency, and we had Samsung Mobile US. It was Razorfish was the agency I was at. We had Samsung Mobile US, and this is when they first came out with the Galaxy Note, and they went right at Apple's throat. You probably remember the commercials because they bought a ton of media for this stuff. It was when like they had all the people waiting in line outside, and then they were kind of making fun of all the fanboys and everything. Yep. They just went right at Apple. Mm-hmm. And that was like the traditional side, the digital side. And that was when I was probably turning in like 85, 90 hours a week. But I mean, you want to talk like the fun element of it. We had a really great account guy that knew that we were just going to get worked. And so he told Samsung that we had to have like basically F around money to make it so that when we were done working for the day, we could go out and eat and drink and do whatever. I mean, they set us up in an awesome suite at the Mondrian in West Hollywood. I was driving around in a cherry red, like brand new Mustang. And this is for like, you know, a month and a half. And the work that we were doing was some of the best work that I've ever done. It was the most fun. We were doing tons of production. It was like on the heels of the Super Bowl spot. We needed to come up with a bunch of digital content that would go live afterwards to kind of keep that Super Bowl spot alive for, you know, another few weeks after they'd spent, you know, how many millions of dollars on the spot. And I got to work with Brian Urlacher and Miranda Kerr and Paul Rodriguez. And it was awesome. It was a ton of fun. I mean, I've never been more tired, and I still every day when the alarm went off was like super stoked to go into work and shoot and edit. And I mean, it's just when you're on production and you're actually cranking out work and the work is getting produced, it doesn't matter how many hours you work. It is awesome. Yeah. You never get tired of it. I mean, I'm sure had I been at that pace for like, you know, 10 months or something or a year, like I would have just died. But, you know, I would have died with a smile on my face. Like it's fun. You can't deny that as a creative, like those are the good times when you get a chance to get your teeth into a project like that and do some awesome work, and you really love what you're doing. Right. And you've got a great product, which Samsung has awesome products, especially when it comes to the phone market. Like you don't have to lie to tout how good the product is, you know? Right. Those are the good times. That was a lot of fun. So I'm not going to like paint advertising out to be some terrible industry, because it's not. It's just got the amplitude on the ups and downs are very high and low. Yeah. But those are the times that are worth it.
Like when you're working on something that's pretty big, and you finally deliver it and you see it, and people that you know say, oh, I saw your work. And then like the decompression that comes after it, like, okay, we're done. That Friday night, it's you and your team and everyone goes out and they have dinner and they have drinks and everyone apologizes for the bad words that they sent your way because maybe you were a little bit late for something. Like, I agree. It's a lot of work. And people get testy only because, you know, sleeping is an option.
No.
Right, for sure.
But it's definitely a good time. Just know it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. But you know, if you love what you do, which you know, and you get a chance to work on something like that, like it's great. So I'm not going to sit there and badmouth the industry. It's just like I said, really high highs and really low lows sometimes, you know, but it evens out.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then you decided to get into photography.
Yeah. So the last advertising job I had, I was a group creative director. So I was like, you know, leading or was a co-group creative director basically. So it was me and this other dude kind of leading this client. And again, like, you know, crazy hours and pick another shot, man. I don't like that shot that much.
I'm just starting.
I don't like that. I know. I don't like the edit on that shot. So yeah, so it was rough, man. Like I'm not gonna lie. It was probably the most stressed out I've probably been. And you know, I just kind of parted ways with that company and just had absolutely no interest in getting back into advertising or working at any point, anytime soon. I'd saved up a good amount of money and I just decided to F off for a while. My dad had also retired, like, I think maybe like a couple years before that. And, you know, he kind of envisioned his retirement, I think, being a little different. He had a lot of like nagging health injuries where he'd need like a little surgery here or have to do physical therapy for this there. And it was really cutting into like his golf or like, you know, time he was going to go spend like playing cards with his friend. But you laugh, but like, that's what you want to do. And you're like, look, man, I work my
That's
ass
what I
off
want to do now. I'm not,
Right?
I'm not even close to retiring.
Right. So, but yeah, that's the thing is like, I saw, yeah, I mean, and dude, like nobody worked harder than my dad, man. He put in a ton of time and you know, he worked his ass off for a long time, you know, looking forward to this retirement. And then, you know, he was not able to fully enjoy it because he kind of was getting held back by all these nagging, you know, things that he was having to deal with. And I'm like, you know what, I'll get to like my time when I'm in my 60s and I like retire, but I'm just gonna not do this for a while. Like I didn't have any kind of rush at all in my mind about getting back into the industry. And one of the things that happened when I was working at this agency was that there's a ton of people there. Havas is the name of the agency. It's Jason Peterson's the chief creative officer there. Dude's an extraordinary photographer. He likes to hire content creators and people that have interests outside of like just advertising. Doesn't like generally just hiring just traditional ad people. So there's a lot of like social media influencers and photographers. And I had recently quit drinking and was needing like something to take up all the time I used to spend like doing all the things you do when you drink and you go out to the bars, hang out with your friends, whatever. I'm like, bars are kind of boring. You know, I still go to bars every once in a while, but they're just not as fun when you're not drinking anymore.
Right. And
I needed something to do to like basically have a hobby. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll buy a camera. So I bought a Sony a6000 camera and started shooting. I'm like, I actually kind of like this. And then one of the campaigns that we came up with for one of our clients was to have a bunch of these well-known Instagrammers and influencers create all of the content for the entire 360-degree campaign. It wasn't a social media campaign. It was a, you know, print, video, outdoor, digital, social, like 360-degree campaign. And we hired and so we're working with these dudes and I'm like, man, like these guys, like their photography is amazing. And they get to travel all around the world for like a couple of weeks. They made a lot of money. And I'm like, man, these guys, like, this is what's up. Like, you know, that's what I want to do. But I didn't know how to take a decent photograph. I didn't know how to edit. I didn't have anything. Like I didn't have any to do in order to be those people.
Right.
So, you know, I bought that camera. I started teaching myself how to edit and just started trying to shoot every day or at least, you know, a handful of times a week and just try to like watch as many YouTube tutorials as I could to try to figure it out. I asked questions as much as I could. Like Danny Moda I used to work with, I sent you a ton of questions. And I just was like, just consuming YouTube tutorials, just like, how much can I learn about shooting? How much can I learn Lightroom and then later Photoshop? And, you know, then at that point, Havas and I parted ways, and like, I'm just going to just kind of what I did for like the last, you know, 2.5 years, something like that, I guess, like 2 years. Mm. And, you know, the byproduct of that was just going to a bunch of awesome places and just kind of honing that craft. And, you know, biggest Instagram following in the world, but I've, you know, like ballpark 75,000 followers. I have a
75.9.
Yeah.
Okay. Relatively, you know, I've engaged audience. I'm extraordinarily thankful for, and yeah, I mean, I'm to the point where I can start picking up work. Yeah, and what those people did that I was so envious of, you know, 2-3 years ago. So kind of like a synopsis of that journey.
How long did you work at Havas?
I freelanced there for a while, for like maybe a year. And then I was probably like another year I was full-time.
What year?
Maybe 9 months, something like that.
What year was those?
I don't know. Whatever, I guess it was like 2015 to 2016, like that area.
Did you know a Rudy Gonzalez?
Sorry, you cut.
Ooh. You hear me now?
Yeah.
Did you know a Rudy Gonzalez? He was like a project manager.
I think so. Do you know what accounting worked on?
It was. Did they have a big medical wing or something like that?
I don't know. Not any.
I can't think of the name. He's told me before. He wasn't on the Harley stuff. He was on
Oh, this must have been a while ago. If you're talking about Harley stuff, this must have been like 10 years ago or something, or 8 years ago.
I was talking about in the last 5 or 6 years or so, but
okay. Yeah, I don't think I knew him.
Yeah,
but
even at Leo. So Carlos, we would know this too. Did both of you guys work with Chad Mershak?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the same team too. So that was...
Yeah. Chad was not necessarily my boss, but he was kind of like, he was an intermediary between me and I believe the client.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we worked very closely together. I like him. I like him a lot. He was a good guy.
Yeah, Chad brought me on there as a consultant one day for a seminar I did with him. That was really cool.
I remember because he asked me if I knew you and if you would be up to the challenge of coming in to do what you did, and I was like, "That's my boy. Get him in here. Don't hesitate."
Yeah. That was cool.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Carlos, I owe you everything. No.
Yeah, no, Chad's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you, you've been in the advertising arena, Mike, for a long time.
Yeah, man, I'm old.
I got you by a couple years.
Good.
You guys didn't like your 60s,
but I'm sexy. Yeah. So, but hey,
yeah.
Throughout the years, how has social media affected the way that advertisers approach their market, or has it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely given them another avenue to do it, right? And certainly one that has a lot of return on investment when you take a look at how much media buys cost. Like, you know, everything's on demand these days, and nobody has any tolerance for like waiting or any. People with such a short attention span, like people don't watch TV as much as they used to. I mean, okay, they will, but you're talking about like less and less people, you know, as like the younger generations get older.
Right.
You know, like those people aren't watching television. They're watching digital content. They're watching YouTube. They're watching other stuff, right? So I think brands know that they need to adapt to be relevant to every market by talking to people where they're at, right? I mean, I think that's the number one rule of any savvy brand is to know your audience, and that's not just knowing what they like, but knowing where they are, knowing what their habits are. And it's like, look, social media is a giant part of everybody's life. I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of people are on Instagram or Twitter, Facebook. I mean, you name it, right? So brands have to know not only that they need to be there, but how to be there in a relevant way, right? Because I kind of liken social media to the way digital was in like the late 90s and early 2000s, where it's like everybody knew they needed to be there, but they didn't know exactly what they should do there. So you ended up with a bunch of really terrible websites, terrible digital experiences, because people just didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
Even after that, people were just like, oh, well, just take the TV spot and like, that's it. Like that's the digital part of it. And it's like, that's not how it works, So I think, kind of understanding what each one of the social platforms is for and being able to develop content and leverage influencers that are a part of each platform that kind of fit where your sweet spot is as it pertains to what you're trying to say. And I think brands have been kind of forced to be savvier when it comes to that kind of stuff. And the ones that don't get it I'm not going to say they're not going to be around for long if they don't get it figured out.
But it definitely is going to be a challenge. Right. Your internet.
A lot of good if they figured out.
Your internet is wonderful right now. Your internet is about as good as your education at University of Illinois.
So basically you're saying that everything I just said was just garbled up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like the TAs that work there.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So yeah, social media good. Radio bad. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
No, what's funny is it was Ark and Leo Burnett that forced me to get on Facebook. I didn't want to get on Facebook at all. And then they're like, no, you have to, because we're developing for Facebook, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, fine. So then I logged in and I did that thing. And now I'm just a Facebook troll.
Thanks, Leo.
That's funny, man. Like I hardly even use it anymore. Like after I got into photography, I like most of the stuff that I'm interested in is on Insta, but I mean, I guess that makes sense, right?
All about the gram.
Yeah. Same here. And then Facebook ruined it when they let me post to Instagram and automatically send it to Facebook. I was like, I don't even really need Facebook anymore.
I can just be on
go to Facebook. I go to Facebook to pick fights now.
It's like
Twitter
post whatever you want and don't care if there's any comments on Facebook because you're just like, whatever. I'm using Instagram.
Yeah. You want to start a fight on Facebook? Say anything about Jesus.
or politics, and then that'll be the end
or
of
Trump.
Yeah,
you don't even
fights on Instagram.
Yeah, you don't even have to say anything. Just be like Trump, right? And then just watch it all happen.
Right. It's like throwing a pile of shit with an M80 into a church and just watching the fallout from that, man. That's all you need to
say. So it looked. Oh, go ahead, Jack.
I was gonna say. So the really cool thing about your Instagram is you've been posting like a ton of photos and for a while now, and you can really clearly follow the progression of like your early stuff, and then as you started to educate yourself and you started to learn, and there's like you can just see it progress. So I just was like curious, like obviously it's a complicated sport and you got a lot going on and there's all sorts of different things in different situations, but like if you had to classify like what your biggest growth or what your kind of signature aha moment in photography was, how would you classify that?
You mean as far as like,
I mean, because there's like a stunning difference between your recent stuff from, the past 500 posts from your first 100.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And there's like, I know everybody's different. Everybody's got their own style and they've all, got a lot of landscape and city stuff. But like, was there like an aha moment or something you really like triggered you to discover something about the way photography works, or it works in your brain?
No, I don't think there was. Like, I think, from the moment that I picked up a camera, I was kind of interested in it. Like, I found that I liked it. I found, I don't know if you play guitar, but it's the same thing, right? Like, you pick up a guitar and it's frustrating at first because you don't know how to play it.
Yeah.
And then you learn like 3 chords and you can play like 10 songs or 10 million songs, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I remember like one of the first songs I learned was Plush by Stone Temple Pilots, obviously dating myself because this is years and years and years ago, but it's like, oh my God, I can play a song, you know? And so, when you start, it's like photography was the same way, right? You're first shooting and you're just taking a bunch of crap. And I purposely left all of the bad shots that I used to pass for on my feed so that if anyone scrolls back, because it gets to I think I've got like the following now, or have at least, reached a level where people ask me like, hey, like, how do I do this? Or how do I do that? Or they're kind of looking to me to be able to teach them or help them learn or whatever. And I'm certainly happy to do that because there were people that did that for me. And without them, I wouldn't have been able to develop to the level that I'm at now. But I leave those pictures up there so that, because, I think, when you have the mentality, like when you first start shooting and then you're on Instagram and you're like, oh my God, like, look at Michael Shaneblum, or look at, kind of just like blanking on, or, like a Mind's Eye or a Gabe Rodriguez, or, like any one of these people that are just like, or Travis Burke, or like any one of these unbelievably talented photographers. And, or even like Jason Peterson, right? So, and you're thinking like, oh my God, like look at the level that these people are on. Like, how on earth are they so talented? It's like, well, when they first started shooting, they probably were shit. Like, the first images that came out of their camera were probably garbage. And there was, like a handful of good ones that were mixed in to that batch that they looked at and was like, oh wow, like this is cool. And then they learned something from that first, few hundred shots they took. And then they learned something else, and they learned something else, and they learned something else. And the more you learn, the more it's motivating, because you see yourself growing. Like if you learn a new editing technique, you learn a new way to treat light, you learn a new way to like, shoot something. And it's like a very iterative process, right? It's not like, it's just like one day I learned how to do this, and then my photography went from a 2 to like an 8 or whatever. And if you go through all of like the really old shots to the new stuff, I mean, you'll see that it gets a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better.
I wanted a little bit better. Out. Whenever I miss home too much, I think of this, and then I think to myself, I'm good.
Yeah. Did you notice that girl's got a tiny Santa hat on?
Yeah.
It's like a tiny little Santa hat. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, there wasn't like a moment where I like figured it out. I still wouldn't say that I figured it out. I mean, there's stuff that I'll post, like even like the last post I did today, I'm like, I'm not happy with the edit on that. I wish I wouldn't have posted it. And there's photographers that I can look at that are 10 billion times better than I am, that I don't think I'll ever get to that level, but I want to. So that keeps motivating me to get better and to keep shooting and to keep learning new techniques. And that's great motivation, is just looking at other people's work that makes you just want to smash your camera into a million pieces and say, I quit.
And she just let you take that picture.
That's my girlfriend.
Oh.
She's actually wearing my shoes too. I just like those shoes and thought they would make a cool shot, so I had her put them on. And I knew, because I was at a super wide angle, that it would be so distorted anyway that you couldn't tell that it was like a man's shoe.
Yeah. How much does post alter your original shot?
It depends on the shot. Some shots not that much. I could show you a shot that, like that shot, the post from that probably isn't too crazy altered. And then I could show you other shots where you'd be like, you literally, that cannot be the same shot. I mean, it's literally just like made something from absolutely nothing. And like, those edits might take me 4 hours to do, but at the end, maybe I get something that I really dig out of it. So like the one in the, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, like the shot in the bottom left-hand corner of the Hancock building with the clouds in it, like that didn't need much. Like that just looked bananas right out of the camera.
Nice.
But other
And
stuff,
I think that's
so much.
that's one of the fun things about photography and playing with your camera, because if you get comfortable with a lens and you start to get cocky, just switch the lens and it's a completely different game. I mean, the approach might be the same, but the image that results will be completely
Right.
different, and now you have something new to play with.
And you know, a lot of times you don't even, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, what camera do you shoot with? Look, see that shot of the train right there on the right hand side?
Right.
Not that one.
This one.
Yeah, that one. That's an iPhone shot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
buy 'em.
some
Okay,
iPhones.
so-
There's some good iPhone stuff out there.
There's I mean,
iPhone
it
photography.
didn't look like that straight out of the phone, but that's the edit. You know, it's not like I
Yeah,
put a different sky in there. But it's look, man, like you have a well, that's not a raw image because it's an iPhone shot, but you've got an image in there that's got some great color in it. You've got, you know, the lines are lined up, the composition's good, and then you are able to take it into Lightroom and just, you know,
Yeah,
not manipulate it, so to speak, but I mean, I guess manipulate it a little bit. It's not
Yeah.
like that's not what it looked like, but
No,
yeah, and
I'm all on board for iPhone shots and other stuff like that. Even when photographers do it, because it's just a different medium that they can use and wow people. You know, I love taking pictures with my phone with those things. And the iPhone back in the day was still is really good to surprise people.
Yeah,
the
new phones up there take, if you're not in challenging lighting conditions, mean you're not shooting in a direct light, and you've got enough light lighting the scene,
Yeah.
your shots can turn out great. Now the times that, not an iPhone shot, the times you run into challenges is when you're shooting in a direct light, because then you've got a really high dynamic range where you've got super brights and super darks. So you've got shadows that you won't be able to see, or you've got a sky that's going to be totally blown out. In a situation like that, you need a better camera, or you need to bracket your shots or whatever, so that you can kind of mesh them together in the edit. So like that is a little bit more challenging. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, of course, like a good camera makes a huge difference, but you don't need to have like a $3,000 camera to take a great photograph.
I need to go get a Hasselblad. Okay, cool.
No, that
Actually, the new Mavics have those.
yeah,
They do. Yeah.
I have one of the new Mavics and it's awesome.
Yeah. That's the next
Hey,
thing.
Joey Wall, how's it going?
Yeah,
Welcome.
like that shot right there. That shot right there is a Sony A6000 shot. That's that camera. The camera costs maybe like $400, and it was taken with a $300 lens. So you know, you don't need a $3,000 setup.
Right. Do you ever? This is some inside baseball. Do you ever purposely shoot some pictures like the picture that you took of your girlfriend wearing your shoes? Do you purposely try to set up something to maybe target that manufacturer to possibly come and license your shot or hire you to do some photo shoots?
No.
No?
That's not to say that wouldn't be a smart idea. I mean, it would be a smart idea. I mean, if it's like, look, man, let's say as a client, right? Like it would be hard for me to go find somebody that's got a Chevy and take a bunch of pictures with it and then put a deck together and send it to them and be like, hey, I have this idea.
Yeah.
What do you think about getting on board? Like, let's go make some cool stuff. And they look at it and they're like, oh shit, like, you know, these pictures are great. Like this strategy makes sense. Like, let's partner up. I just, in that particular, that's my favorite pair of shoes. I just think they're, was like, put these on, you know?
Yeah.
He's a great shot.
What goes through your head? So let me set this up like this.
Okay.
For example, you got Wrigley Field here, you got the Golden Gate Bridge there. There's been billions of people that have taken pictures of those particular
Iconic spots.
Yeah, those specific
Right.
spots. What goes through your head when you're trying to make a different picture of the same exact thing?
That's actually kind of funny. I wrote a blog today. It's it's really hard to stay away from some of the comps you see on Instagram, like that shot of the Golden Gate Bridge, and then it's not my comp. I didn't find that comp. I saw somebody else do that. It's been posted on Instagram a million times. That's somebody else's comp. Like, but he found that comp and they posted it and everyone was like, that's a really dope shot. And then they went and aped that shot. It happens all the time. And it's not like, you know, I've certainly done it. Tons of people have certainly done it. It's not like that's wrong. I think find your own comps that will become iconic comps. But if you're going to take a comp that other people have done, you try to find a way to do it at least a little bit differently, or do it at a time where the light is different, or you're catching something going on atmospherically, or there's a person in the shot, or you shoot it in a different way to make that exact same comp different. So if you want to, I'll show you like what I was thinking about. And I don't know that this hasn't been done before. I'm sure it has, but this was what was going through my head during the shot. So scroll almost like all the way back up to the top.
Okay.
And there should be like a shot of you'll see like one of the towers of the Manhattan Bridge, and then a cab like kind of speeding by in the foreground. So there's this iconic shot of the Manhattan Bridge that you see. It's kind of like a cobblestone street leading up to it, and then you see like framed in the middle of the shot is one of the towers of the Manhattan Bridge, and then like kind of in one of the bottom parts of the tower, you can even see framed as like the Empire State Building in there. So it's like this iconic shot. Like there's even like a movie poster that was made of it. There it is.
This one
in the middle there. Yep. So I went to that spot looking for a new comp, and I was trying out like a really long lens. I'm like, maybe if I go far away, that wasn't working. I'm like, well, maybe if I try this, maybe if I try that. And I was frustrated, and I couldn't find a comp that was any different than this. And this is like, this shot has been done to death. Like I've seen it 8 million times. It is nothing new. So the goal was, how am I going to capture this in a way that's different, that's got something going on in it, that's evocative of the spot, right? And like everybody knows, you know, New York's got cabs everywhere, and like it's a very fast-paced kind of, you know, city. There's only one New York, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking, like, what can I do that's kind of like in line with the character of the city that can add an element of interest, of, you know, like something dynamic going on in the shot. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just sit here and wait for a cab to go by, and I'll shoot it in a way where I'm at 1/3 of a second exposure time, as opposed to like, you know, a 200th or 500th of a second, so that the cab actually is blurred going by. And that was my idea for the shot. I'm like, it's not going to be just your typical, there's the bridge shot that, you know, and I'm not saying this hasn't been done before. I'm sure it probably has. Like, you know, I don't have any recent memory of it, but that's not to say that, you know, 1,000 people posted the exact same shot yesterday. That could be the case. I just didn't have any memory of it. And this was what was in my mind of how I was going to make this shot interesting and different than the typical shot of the bridge that, you know, that I took even to, you know, 3 years ago when I was first starting, and it was my favorite photograph at the time, because it's an awesome shot. Even without a cab, even though it's been done 8 million times, it's a cool shot. Like, you cannot deny that if that cab wasn't there, it was a regular shot, it would be a cool shot. Right. But again, like, the idea is to, with every situation that you're in, either shoot it in a way that's different, find something, whether the light's different or some sort of element to make the shot different, or figure out a way to make it ownable in the edit.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of times you can make something ownable in the edit too. You can do something with the way you edit it to just make it totally different than anything that you've seen, or at least make it different than most of the stuff that you've seen of that shot, you know?
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that attracts me to your work, is all of the nature that's available in the pictures. There's, I'm not going to say always, but there's almost always some sort of atmosphere, like the clouds that are rolling in here, the Golden Gate Bridge shots. This here is nothing but smoke and trails of smoke. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's, and even when you don't have atmosphere around it. You create it with these little vignette accents here, and it's
well. See, like that shot's a great example of how you can make the edit. Like this. If I showed you what the raw image looked like of this shot, you would swear up and down that it's not the same shot. It looks nothing like this at all. Nothing like this. It literally looks like an iPhone shot in midday of the bean. It's terrible. But I mean, I went to work in Lightroom, and I did a ton of post work on this to make it into something that I thought was interesting to look at.
Yeah.
So like those shadows on the buildings in the background, those were not there. Like it looks like the sun is being obscured by like buildings or whatever, and it's only casting light on the top of the shit. That's all fabricated.
Whoa. Okay.
That was not like that. But I had it in my mind. I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like the light was like, so that was all dark where the bean was, but then you saw the light blowing up the bean. So that was kind of interesting there. Wow. And then there was kind of that like dark section where the bean was the light part. And then there was, the buildings were dark, but there was, let's create even like another element of interest above that with like, you know that it's low light. And it was sunrise, but those shadows just weren't there. But I thought it would be a more interesting shot if it was just like the tops of the buildings getting lit by that sun. So that I conjured it. I made it up.
That's
so
pretty badass.
You know, and like, and some people that are purists will be like, oh, well, that's not photography or whatever. And it's like, you know, like I'm not going to say they don't have a point. Like, you know,
but it's not any less legitimate as an art form. It might not be true photography, but it's. I might argue it's more art. I mean that you're putting your vision of what that moment was. You know, whether you're painting it, whether you're taking a photograph, you're combining things. It's. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you start getting into like photo art, when it's you're throwing in like rainbows and like tons of stuff like the Milky Way in the middle of the day, or like then you're you're putting in like 500,000 birds into a shot, or like crazy stuff like that. I think I'll tell you what though, like close out of this for a second. One of the things that's unfortunate is scroll down a little bit.
This is great, by the way. I've been down there. I've been down to this area, and this view, not many people get to see in real life. And then these colors that came out of this picture are just pretty badass. Anyway, sorry, I had to kiss your ass a little bit.
Oh no, man, I appreciate it. Pucker up. Scroll. if you scroll up, I think up maybe. Up other way.
Oh, up this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See, okay, look at the shot of the moon and the plane. Scroll down.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that one actually when we
Scroll down.
The first time.
See it right there?
Yeah.
That. So okay. So that's one of the things that sucks about how much people manipulate photography these days, is that I posted this and I was like, oh man, I'm like, I think this post is going to do really well. Like it's a really interesting shot. Nobody buys this. Nobody thinks this is. This is not Photoshop. Legitimate shot that I had in my head. I took this from my balcony, and the planes were flying around. It was right before the Air and Water show. So the planes, it was like Thursday, so they were out practicing. They weren't like doing the full show or whatever. And it's really tough to get good Air and Water show shots. You basically kind of need to have the planes like near buildings, or they need to have smoke coming out of them in the right way. There needs to be some sort of other element, or you just do stuff like Jason Peterson does, where it's just because he does such minimalist stuff. Like if you just have one plane with like a streak behind it and it's very minimalist, like, and he does it in his style and it looks great, but that's not the style that I do. So for me, finding a shot to do for Air and Water has always been really tough, but that's part of the fun of the challenge of it. So I noticed them flying around, and then I noticed the moon was out in the middle of the day. It was just, one of those days or whatever. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, I bet it'd be really cool if I took a super long lens and zoomed right into the moon as far as I could go, and one of the planes just happened to fly by. And I had my shutter speed on like, 1/800th of a second. I was fully zoomed in, and I was on like, ready to fire off burst shots. And like 2 minutes after that happened, that plane, I just was fixed on the moon, and I saw this plane flying at it. I'm like, oh shit, man, like please fly through this frame. And it flew right through the frame. And
he heard you.
Right. If you look closely on the moon, it actually looks, that's his jet wash, like on the surface of the moon right there. It looks like he's blowing up a bunch of dust from the surface of the moon, but that's actually his jet wash distorting it. So like, this was one of my favorite shots I've taken. Just, I mean, it's like, I hate that there's all that vignetting and moirang or whatever you want to call it on there. My original shot doesn't look like that, but it's, you posted it, and so that's what happens to it. But like, this was one of my favorite shots, and like, I think people just thought it was, I just conjured it, you know, like I found a picture of a plane on stock photography and then just dropped a stock photography moon in there and called it a day. So I think that's kind of like the downfall of, or the downside of how much editing
Photoshop
goes on.
Yeah.
And like, and you know, like photoshopping in like the surrealistic way or whatever is kind of, when you see a shot like this, your assumption is just that it's conjured. And, you know, I'm certainly guilty of doing some of that stuff. So I guess it's kind of like the double-edged sword of it. So
my first thought were that the Transformers were coming.
They are. They definitely are.
Yeah, man. Like I'm totally jealous whenever people start posting pictures of Cuba and stuff. I'm just like, man, I want to go so bad.
Yeah, it's different down there, man. That's for damn sure. I mean, it's I didn't really know what to expect, but I mean, yeah, that place has not moved in quite some time.
60 years, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, like the buildings are literally just crumbling to the ground.
Yeah.
I don't, it's funny, man. Like the people that are there, like everybody seems to be super happy because it's all they know.
Right.
They don't know that it's any different. They're happy with what they have, which is one of the things that makes the Cuban people so amazing. I mean, I loved all the people that I met there. I thought they were just fantastic. And people there are beautiful too.
Just
so
saying.
Really, really, yeah.
Hey, you're not there.
Yeah, so you're not beautiful.
Right.
I'm one generation away.
You
Sorry.
said the people there.
So much can happen in a generation, though.
So many different nuances.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, so many shades. It was just
Noah
there was
must
just
be
a
asleep.
giant softball on a tee, man. I had to take a swing at it. But yeah, like I don't know how they go about fixing that. I mean, there's so much rebuilding that needs to be done. I don't even know where you would begin. But from a photographer standpoint, I'll tell you one of the coolest things that we did. My girlfriend and I went and we just bought like a bunch of toys, like that sounds really bad, but like toys for kids.
Wait a minute.
Toys for kids. Like we got like $200 worth of toys, like coloring books and like action figures and like Halloween masks and stuff like that. And then like crayons and markers and just, I mean, it literally was like half of our suitcase because we'd heard that the kids just go bananas for that stuff down there because they didn't have any access to that kind of stuff, and just gave away like tons and tons of toys, man. And like, it was one of the best parts of the trip was just seeing like how happy all these kids were, man. They're running around with like Spider-Man masks on and like, you know, all these, it was just so cool, dude. Like, and I don't know. That was just, it was, if you ever go down there, definitely do that because it'll be one of the best parts of the trip. But the adults were really like super generous, super cool. I was taking a picture of this dude's car and he kind of like wandered outside of the house. And I was talking to him again, my Spanish minor coming in handy. And we just kind of, you know, chatting casually for a while, whatever. And, you know, kind of just, I don't know, hit it off, I guess. He's just like a nice dude. And we were laughing and talking about stuff. And he's like, I have this picture of Castro inside. I want to show you. And so he brings me inside of his home. And his son is in there and he's in a wheelchair. I think he had like some kind of cerebral palsy of some kind. And he then brings me, the father comes in, he brings the shot. It was obviously the same kid in the same wheelchair meeting Castro. And it was crazy, man. Like the look in this guy's eyes, like you could tell it was literally like the best day of his entire life, just to be able to meet Castro. He just thought it was the coolest thing. So I was just chatting with him about like, you know, about Castro and, you know, what, you know, just Cuba in general and whatever. And he's like offering us coffee and stuff. It was just, I mean, he didn't know me from anybody. I was just some you know, white dude out taking pictures of his car outside, and then next thing you know, I'm like in this guy's house and like, you know, talking
He's probably
with him and his
thinking.
family.
He's probably thinking, "What the hell are you going to steal?" Like, I got nothing.
Yeah. So it's just like the Cuban people are just super generous, just like really, really good people. And you know, the country is beautiful as well. So it was an awesome trip, man. I had a really good time out there, and from a shooting standpoint, it's bananas, man. There's so much to shoot out there, so much street stuff.
And you know what's funny is whenever I talk to people about being from Chicago, they say those same exact words to me, but except everyone from Chicago is that way. Everyone's super friendly, everyone's super outgoing, and I'm like, well, you haven't been everywhere in Chicago, but yeah, for the most part, a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, I think so, man. Like I think we're a pretty friendly bunch here. It makes it tough to move away from the city, man. Like I love everything about it except the weather, and the weather's terribly bad. But it's tough to move away from, man. As far as I'm concerned, outside of the weather, this is the best city in the country.
I've been around quite a bit, and it's still my favorite city. It's just
like Chicago.
it has everything there, and people aren't mean.
Yeah, people are pretty cool for the most part. I would definitely give you that.
Yeah.
Toronto's got nice people too, man.
I keep hearing
Toronto is Canada's answer to Chicago.
Yeah, and
I literally keep hearing that. Yeah,
Toronto's a great place.
It's funny because you always hear about how nice Canadians are, and then like, you know, you're like, all right, like how nice could they be? And then you go there and you're like, oh my God, like are these people balanced? Like they're just, everybody's super nice. And you coming from Chicago, everybody's pretty nice here too, but it's like next level over there.
Until you go to Montreal, you get a different opinion.
Yeah, I've heard things about that.
Strong French influence.
It's just like the French painted them. Painted by the French.
Yeah, dude, you have been kind of everywhere.
Yeah, and at the same time, kind of nowhere. Like I could spend the rest of my life traveling and still not shoot all the stuff I want to shoot.
Yeah,
I haven't been to Rome, Florence, Venice, Paris,
bucket list,
anywhere in Australia, New Zealand, Iceland, England. I haven't shot in Spain or Portugal. I haven't been over to Russia or shot any of that kind of stuff. I haven't shot all the beautiful nature stuff. It's in Hong Kong. I've only touched the Southwest. I haven't shot Banff or Vancouver, or I mean, you know, I've only been to 2 of the Hawaiian Islands. I mean, I haven't been to Chile.
Do you remember Sarah Russum?
No.
She was a project
Frankly,
manager.
it sounds made up.
She was a project manager. She was a project manager at ARC, and she was into photography too. And she went to Prague. She came back with absolute magic from out there.
Yep.
So cool.
I mean, you can't get it all in. It's too much stuff to shoot.
Yeah.
So
even if you stand in the same spot, there's going to be different things there.
Yeah, there's guys that make an entire life's work out of one place.
No doubt. I mean, you know, light is my favorite thing to shoot, and you can find good light anywhere.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in an iconic spot to shoot good light.
Yeah. Where's one or a couple standout spots for you where you're just like, literally every time I push this button, magic is happening?
I mean, Cuba and New York are 2 good ones. I feel like if I got a chance to walk around like Rome or Venice, or like Florence, or you know, any place like that to me would probably, like, I wanted to get out to Italy so bad. I just feel like wandering around those streets at like just after sunrise, or you know, just before sunset, where the lights kind of peeking around corners, and you've got that old world feel, and you've got those buildings with the clotheslines hanging between them, and like, light, backlit clothes hanging there, and like, the way the light is glinting off a cobblestone street after it just rained. They're like, man, you can't, there's nothing in the United States that touches that kind of stuff. Like New York in a different way, but still not that. Yeah. And like, I want to shoot that so bad, man. Right. I really do.
Jack, is there anything that triggers your photographic eye when you're looking at different things?
I mean, I think he's spot on. I mean, photography it's the same way that I work. It's all about light. And I mean, that kind of triggers my drawing brain as well. That's why I'm kind of so obsessed with contrast and black and white, because I mean, that's literally the first thing that eyes are evolved to notice. So I mean, I think there's a reason that we're kind of so obsessed with it. But yeah, I mean, I'm super amateur photography compared to all this, and compared to most people actually. But yeah, I like the light, the play of light off stuff is an extreme lights, darks, and I mean all that kind of stuff. But you have the one thing I haven't really been able to play with and capture, and it's mostly because of patience, because I don't really have the time nor the foresight to go out and plan a day around a specific lighting condition or atmosphere is the atmosphere, and I that's like this really awesome component of light, that it gets filtered through something, and that's kind of the one thing.
Well, to be fair to you, like LA has one season, and and all of the atmosphere is pollution. So
yeah, but that could make for great photo. I mean,
awesome.
Yeah,
it actually. I mean, the pollution actually makes for pretty incredible sunset skies. I mean, it's sad, but it's the truth. It really changes the color of the sky.
These are phenomenal.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff.
And I like how you play with your shutter speeds and stuff like that.
So sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
Obviously you have like an affinity for landscapes and architecture and kind of cityscape stuff. Yep. Does portraiture just not inspire you at all? And if so, like, is there a reason for that?
I think it's beautiful. Like, I definitely admire it. Like, if you take a look at some of the stuff that like Manny Ortiz does, or he's phenomenal at it. And like, I don't know a ton of portrait photographers off the top of my head. Like I said, I think it's beautiful. I just don't do it a lot. I've done some of it. Like, there's like those two pictures in the middle right there. There was the picture of the kid I took in Cuba holding that chick.
Yeah, it's so good.
And like,
and if you're listening on iTunes, it's actually a chicken chick, not
like it's a baby
slang.
Yeah.
Holding that chick.
Yeah. It was one of my favorite shots that I took in Cuba. Like, I love that shot. I just don't do a lot of portrait kind of work. And then if you look, there's like one picture I think above that in the gallery of Elizabeth Whelan. Like, she's awesome, man. Like, it's crazy. Like, when you shoot models, how much of a difference it makes. Like, the camera just loves them. Like, they just blow up your camera when you look at it. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. And there's definitely an art to it. And then, and certain people just have that magic. When you take a picture of them, it's just noticeably better. They're just better.
Yeah.
They just look better in a picture than other people do. I don't know why, but it just, I remember the first time I shot her, it was like, oh my God, like, this is awesome. Cause you get every picture you get back looks cool.
Yeah.
And they're very responsive to, like, you can say arch your back a little bit more, and they don't take it personally. They're just like this. They're like,
yep,
perfect.
She's awesome to work with. I've shot with her a few times. But yeah, she's like the only one that I do portrait photography with, just because I don't like do it often.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like out there looking for models, but we're friends, so we could hang out every once in a while and we'll shoot. But yeah, it's something that I'd probably like to do more. I kind of would like to just mess around with it a little bit. I mean, definitely have fun when we shoot. So it's probably something I should get into a little bit more, just for some variety. And I'd like to do more street stuff. I think there's definitely something to be said for that, because you don't need, I mean, it's always cool when you find like a patch of light and you get somebody walking through it or whatever, but that stuff you can shoot anywhere. It's just a matter of patience and waiting for the right moment.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific crew that you shoot with?
I shoot by myself most of the time, but
yeah,
there's like a handful of guys I used to shoot with a lot, but yeah, I shoot by myself most of the time. But Chicago's got like a pretty good community. There's a lot of really talented people here. There's a lot of everybody's super nice, very cool, super welcoming, and you don't have like a lot of arrogant people. Everybody's normally pretty chill and pretty welcoming. I don't have a lot of patience for that kind of self-importance. Yeah, that's just not my thing, man.
So what would you think, or what? Here's a question. Then, like, based on all the images we've been looking at, for your freelance work and stuff like that, what is generally your bread and butter or go to? Like, what are people coming to you to have you create?
That's the thing, is like you get a lot of people come to you with bad ideas. Like you'll get I've had a number of different like health and beauty people approach me, and it's tough. Like I could easily just be like, yeah, sure. Like I'll shoot that skin cream or whatever it is that you want me to shoot. But they're basically just trying to buy media, right? They look at me, they're like, okay, this guy's got 75,000 followers. He gets an average of 7,500 likes per post, and that's a good engagement. And I want to buy the media. I want to buy that media, right? And they're not thinking to themselves. They're not being savvy marketers where they're saying, okay, yes, but wouldn't it make more sense to approach a portrait photographer that takes pictures of models to talk about a skin cream that I'm going to put on your face? So I'll just tell them straight up. I'll be like, thanks so much for approaching me. I really appreciate the offer. I don't think that I'm the best person to do this for you. You should probably try talking to a portrait photographer. I have a number of different friends that I can recommend if that's what you want to do. And then I do that if that's the case. Because twofold, look, I spent 20 years in advertising, right? Like I can't tell a brand, like I would feel dirty being like, it's just wrong. It's not being a savvy marketer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're getting into some of my older stuff. You can tell the like giant drop off in quality at this point.
But at the same time, and I'm sorry for interrupting, at the same time, your technique might not be as fine-tuned as it is now, but the eye is still there. The actual picture that you're taking is still legit.
Yeah, ish. Like, I'm looking at these and being like, oh, why did you edit it like that? But, I was learning, and I'm learning now. 6 months from now, I'll look at the stuff that I'm doing now and I'll be like, you're an idiot. Why did you do that? But yeah, getting back to the earlier question, like I just did a partnership with Boosted Boards, and I've been wanting to work with them for a while, and then they ended up reaching out to me, and I was like, this is awesome. This is perfect, because I'm going to be able to take a shot featuring some dude like streaking by on a boosted board with the cityscape in the background. Hate that shot.
I don't.
And it's going to be, it's exactly the kind of shot I would take anyway.
Yeah.
Like if some dude was like booking down the street on a boosted board with some awesome skyline or building or through a patch of light in the background, I'm like, I would love a shot like that.
Yeah.
So for me, that was
totally your stuff for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's like one of my more recent shots is that shot that I took for them. And so I was like, yeah, 100%. I would love to work with you guys. And that was smart of them. And they reached out to me and a bunch of other photographers that shoot stuff like I do, like urban and natural landscapes. And all those guys are creating awesome content for them. Like they're a smart, savvy brand that knows how to market themselves and uses the right influencers to do it.
Yeah. Inboard needs to do the same thing. I ride on an inboard every day. So the Boosted Board brand does it really good with that in New York City. And did you shoot yours in Chicago?
I did, yeah. It's
See, that's cool that you gave the city some love because there's a lot of electric skateboards. There's a lot of us here now.
Yeah.
It wasn't at first when I started, but now I see them all over the place.
Yeah, well, I think Casey Neistat did a good job of popularizing it. I mean, everybody just thinks of an electric skateboard. They think of Casey and the boosted board. And I don't even think they paid him anything. I think they might have just sent him one, and he loved it, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
And they probably gave him about $50 million worth of free marketing.
Even with the newer ones and stuff like that, or ones that are better, he still just rides that one. And the new ones come out.
He rides the stealth.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to, because of you, I started following Dan Norst.
Yeah, Dan Marker Moore. Yeah.
This is something new that DJI is doing. I believe it's a DJI. I'm going to share
Bring
my
it up,
screen.
homie. Let me see it.
Look at this. This is bananas.
Oh yeah, a lot of
That's
camera.
just post work. You don't need the drone to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, you
He
don't?
might not. No, he might.
I got one of those 360 cameras. But yeah, they can stitch them together like that now.
Yeah, I created something that was similar to that, not that cool, but that's just editing.
Yeah,
It's
you
not
have to do them a lot with the GoPros and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
It's not something that's done in the drone, although they do have a lot of really nice features with like some hyperlapse stuff and
Yeah.
you can do video with it like this too. So if you want to, there's my video.
oh, dude, you want to get your mind blown?
Go look at the Kendrick video.
Go scroll further back in Dan Marker Moore's feed, and he does a video in that with the scene in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Your mind will melt out of your head.
Circle world thing.
Yeah, it's like a circle world thing, but it's an actual video. It's a scene.
You can
It's
shoot
insanity, man. It's one of the coolest things he's done. That dude's video work is literally out of control. It's so good. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cameras that can do that too now. But if another video, I have to find it for you guys. But the Kendrick Lamar video from like 2 years ago did that also, where he's like riding on a bike and like it looks like that too. I'll have to find it though. Both things are crazy to look at.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it in this feed, but I don't.
I'll keep scrolling. I wanted to talk about your future.
Tiny. You had a tiny.
Okay, Dad. Lay it on
Because I'm worried about you, son.
I know. I'm worried about me too. What should I do?
Is photography something that you see being your main bread and butter and the future of your career?
If I'm being honest, no.
No.
I see it being an element of my career. I think there's a ton of really, really talented people out there. I mean, it's like, when Tiger Woods came along, he just was better than everybody else. And now everybody's
Just
was
as good,
inspired by
better.
him to play golf. And like all the people that idolized him as a kid are now at his level or better.
Right.
So I think, with like Instagram started getting really popular about 3 years ago, and all those people that kind of started in like, 2014, 2015 that blew up and got like 250,000 followers or whatever. They have a lot of followers, but they motivated so many people, myself included, to get into photography. And then, you just got this wave of people that are just as talented as they were, but there's just thousands of them. So to make a living off of it can be done. You got to really hustle. Like you got like a guy like an Andy too, like that dude hustles hard and he's really talented in both photography and videography. But he hustles really hard, and that's not to say that other photographers don't, but it's just like anything else out there. Like there's only a certain number of slots. There's only a certain amount of content that everybody needs. It's not to discourage people from being photographers. I mean, it's not like I'm going to hang my camera up because I think I'm not going to be able to make a living off of it. I certainly could. Yeah. But I think what I'll probably end up doing, since I have the advertising background, I think kind of puts me in a little bit of a unique position where I can envision what a campaign might be or what a project might be, or work with a brand that's like, hey, look, we want to do a social media campaign, or we want to work with you to do something. These are our brand objectives. And then I can come back with a solution or a campaign or some content that then covers off on what those business objectives are. Whereas somebody that's a straight up photographer, I'm not saying that they can't do that, but they don't have a 20-year advertising pedigree where they're able to kind of go through and be like, this is how, to work with a brand and talk to them as a creative director, somebody that understands what you need to do to communicate with the consumer in an effective way and engage them and get the message across, and then also be able to create the content that does that, I think puts me in a unique position. So I kind of see it more of as a hybrid role where I'm still working as a creative director and I'm still creating campaigns and I'm helping brands with their voice and helping them put themselves out there in meaningful ways that accomplish the goals that they're trying to do and sell their products and services, but also be in a position where I can then kind of step in as an influencer and a content creator and give them ideas from that perspective as a photographer and a content creator, and then go out and actually do that content as well. So that's kind of the role I see myself in. I don't want to walk away from either one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen again because I think I found it. Is this the one?
No, it's a video. Or wait.
This is pretty sick.
It's bananas, but that's not the one I'm thinking of.
I posted one too.
Someone's comment on this is literally teach me.
Dude, he and Andy too are my two favorite videographers. There could not be more different. Dan does stuff like that, and Andy does more like, well, he did work for Beautiful Destinations, or maybe currently does, like that kind of stuff, like just like making Costa Rica look like the most magical place ever. Like that's the kind of stuff that he does, and he does these beautiful like soundscapes, and his edits are just, and his transitions are tremendous. And then Dan comes up with these he just knows how to use the programs. It's not just the mastery of the programs. Like you have to have the visualization. He dreams this stuff up in his mind, and then he's able to he has the talent to go in there and to make these things. Make your brain melt out of your head. I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at half the time, man. I'm just like, I'll text him and be like, dude, what the hell is that? How do you even think of something like this?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like, all right, good on you, man. Like, well done. But yeah, dude, like his stuff is so good.
And I think it's really important for folks to hear someone like you say that, because there's a lot of people that are out there that say, well, when Nikon or when Canon comes out with this other camera, I'm going to be able to do this said thing. Or when the upgrade to blah, 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 blah happens, it's going to make everything better for me in that way. And it's not necessarily so. Like, you have to have the vision. Clicking buttons and stuff, everybody can click buttons. You just have to have the vision to know where you're going to go so you can figure out how to get there.
Yeah. I mean, the camera isn't going to save you, right? I mean,
right.
It can save you in certain situations where, you might not have taken a properly exposed picture, and just because your sensor is so good, you're able to recover your shadows or your highlights aren't blown out or whatever. But going to make your pictures better. People ask me all the time, they're like, like, what filter do you use? Or like, what'd you shoot this with? And I'm like, it doesn't matter what I shot this with. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what lens I use. It doesn't matter what camera I have. Like those things help. And like, like I love my camera. I've only shot with Sony, and like, I love Sony, but that's not to say that you can't take a good picture with another camera. I just happen to like the products that Sony comes out with, I think are the best. I think that they're smart when it comes to marketing themselves, and I think they make the best products on the market. That's why I shoot them. But people would be insane and lying to your face if they were to tell you that you couldn't take a great shot with a Canon or an Nikon. But the camera isn't going to be what makes or breaks your shot. It's going to be you having the vision of what you want the shot to look like, and then you being able to utilize the camera to get the most out of the shot. And certain situations are really challenging to shoot. Like I said, when you're shooting in a direct light, or, you know, and you need ND filters and like all this other stuff, like it's, you know, there's a science to it and an art to it, but the camera isn't going to
save you,
make you take an awesome shot. And then it never comes out of the camera looking like it does after you've done editing it. Like that's easily 50% of the art form is the edit.
Is it a better way to ask that question? Because we hear a lot of creatives say that all the time. Doesn't matter how I shot it. Doesn't matter what it looks like. It's like, you know, the creativity got it to that point. And I think we just have to teach people that are coming up a better way to ask the question instead of the obvious. You know, I bought this camera. This is why this camera looks like. This is why the shot looks like this. And I think you ended up saying it. You know, because I hear that question all the time. What did you use with this, or what program did you use with that, or whatever? And I feel like it could be a better way of educating people on how to ask questions about art.
Yeah, I think it's just people don't understand the process, and because they don't understand the process, they just assume like, oh my, an awesome camera. And it's like, you know, Neil Kumar takes awesome shots with his iPhone. You know, and that's he's iPhone only. And like you look at some of the shots, you're like, no way, that's an iPhone, but it is.
Yeah, it's like, what's the process or whatever? Because a lot of times, like you said, they don't understand the process. But if they just worded their question a lot better, it would turn a lot of creatives on to engaging more in a conversation of like technique or the road that got you to the style that you work in, rather than the generic, what did you use to do that, you know?
Right.
It's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, because I feel like that's kind of what plagued the internet, you know, freshman year of college for me back in 2000 up until 2012, where the art industry in general got away from like, I'm just good, look at the art, don't worry about how I got done, you know, and the things of like YouTube and things of like tutorials and things of like, you know, the Casey Neistats or any of the influencers you see on YouTube or Instagram that start opening up about artwork. You know, same happened in the effects industry, happened in the game industry. People started teaching more than just, you know, like all the articles I used to read in school. Like, this is what the end result is, and then like, here's a circle I started with. You know, like, and it kind of took the mystery out of it, and started talking about technique like you would if you had a mentorship, and like that somebody took you under the wing and explained to you why these things are good, you know, like the whole thing you said earlier about shooting in direct light. That's like somebody who's into photography will like take that gym now and kind of run with it and kind of try to research what that means a little bit more. But
yeah, well,
you know what I'm saying?
You know, I think that's and you know, I think that's kind of one of the fun things, right, when you first kind of start in photography, is that you know nothing. You've got this like massive amount of information that you can absorb, and like people are extraordinarily generous, man. I mean, you know, everybody could take the secrets that they learned about editing and keep it to themselves. And like some people sell their tutorials, and I've bought them, like the super advanced ones and stuff. But you know, every single thing that you need to know to be a phenomenal photographer, you can find on YouTube. You do not need to spend a dime other than an internet subscription, you know, or, you know, the ability to connect to the internet in order to learn everything that you need to know. Like all the techniques and stuff, man, I learned it all just from watching YouTube and then experimenting. It's just time and patience. But yeah, I think people are extraordinarily generous with their knowledge, and it's just,
hey, you shouldn't be that way. Yeah.
I mean, I look at it as like, you know, if somebody's going to ask me, how did you do that? Like, I'll tell them how it's done. Just because if I would have asked somebody else when I was younger, and like, you know, as long as you can have people asking annoying questions over and over again. But like, if somebody's like legit putting time into it, you you know, you can tell that they've been putting effort into like trying to get better or whatever, and they're asking me a question, like I'm more than happy to help them out. It's people that are looking for like, you know, follow me or promote me, you know,
Right.
to give me a shout out on your Instagram feed. And I'm like, dude, you've taken 17 pictures, literally. You're asking me to shout you out on your Instagram feed. I'm like, you know, fuck you. I'm sorry, but like,
that's weird.
you know, I cannot tell you how many countless hours I've put into trying to teach myself how to be a better photographer. Like it takes a lot of work. I've enjoyed the work to get to that point, but you know, like I don't know, I guess the kind of effect of that is getting your work to a better level, and then you get more followers. It's just kind of a byproduct of the amount of time and energy that you put into it, right? It's like I'm not putting my time and energy into it just to get more followers. I'm doing it because I love photography and I love making stuff and I like getting better. But the byproduct of that is if you're consistently putting better work out there, people are going to notice it. But then, yeah, like I hate that element of it. If people just like, they just want 50,000 followers or 20,000 followers or 100,000 followers.
Without putting in the work. Yeah.
But why? Why do you want the followers if your work isn't any good? Like,
You just
if you have 17 pictures, you've clearly like bought a camera a week ago, and you're asking me to promote you on my page just so you get more followers. They're not going to be following you because of your work. You just started shooting. Why do you want 20,000 followers? What are you going to do with them? What do you think they're going to do?
Right.
Sit there and look at your page and be like, you need to practice more? Like, go work your ass off being a better photographer for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Like, and if for some reason, you know, your work is just unbelievably good and nobody's paying attention to it for some reason, and you want to try to reach out to some other people in the community to get your name out there, then hell yeah, man, I'll help you do that. I've done that with people that should have a lot more notoriety than they do. And I shout them out because they've got great stuff and they clearly work hard and they put in the time. And I want to, and more than anything else, you just want to share that person's work with the rest of the community because it's good, because everybody's logged in to like look at great photography and be inspired by it and just check it out because they like it. But yeah, man, sorry, just like it just really pisses me off.
Yeah.
I mean, and Instagram is I'm not going to say the perfect example of democracy, but it's there. Like if you put in the work, the followers are going to show up. You just can't, exactly what you said. You can't take 3 pictures and expect to have 50,000 followers. But let me tell you like this. If you put up 3 pictures and you get 50,000 followers, I will find you and whip your ass myself.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and all your bots.
Bots, yeah, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the algorithm with Instagram isn't great. I mean, there's certain people that, you know, probably have more followers than they should. And then there's certain people that are some of the best photographers I've ever seen that, you know, should have like 1 million followers and they don't. Like Gabe Rodriguez is a perfect example of that. Like I'll put that guy's work up against anybody. Check out 831 Gabe Rodriguez. Like that dude's stuff is just phenomenal. Every post he puts up, every single post he puts up, you can tell that not only is it good, but there was care taken with it. Like there was time taken with it. Like he took the time to pay attention to the tiny details that probably nobody ever else is even going to notice. And it's not like he has no followers. He's got like, you know, 60, 70,000 followers, but like
68,000.
Yeah. But I mean, but that guy's photography, that guy should have 250,000, 500,000 followers if we're judging by talent alone.
Sure.
So yeah, it's just,
but,
you know,
but 68,000 is nothing to be ashamed of either.
No,
but I get your point though.
Yeah, it's not the measure of Instagram is not the measure of whether you're a good photographer or not based on the number of followers you have. It just isn't.
I'll be bold enough to say this. I wouldn't mind having 5,000 followers if those 5,000 followers are finding me work. Instagram isn't going to make you money.
No, it's not. You gotta have the engagement in order to get brands to be interested in working with you. Like you have to have a certain number of followers. You have to have a certain number of people liking and commenting on your stuff.
Right. It's like some people want to be rich and famous. Not me. I'd rather just be rich. I don't need it all. I just
Right. Oh yeah. If you get rich, let me know, man. Give me some of that.
hey, we'll go shooting.
All right. Yeah.
So before we go on another tangent, hey Jack, let's go play.
Here they come. Here they come, yo. Here they come. Here they come.
This or that. This or that. This or that. This or that.
Mike Meyers.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
This or that. Prime or Zoom?
Really nice zoom.
Really nice Zoom.
I would say.
I getcha.
Yeah. I mean, I my favorite lens is my G Master 24-70.
You're killing it with that one. I see that on your posts a lot.
Yeah, that lens is tack sharp, edge to edge. It's f2.8, which is, you're going to want a little bit, lower f-stop if you're shooting portraits. Ideally like a 1.8 or a 1.4. And you're going to probably get closer to that with a prime. Like I know that Sony makes they make two 85 millimeter primes are great for portraits, a 1.8 or a 1.4, and they're awesome. I've shot with them. I've shot with the 1.8, and then they make a G Master that's a 1.4. But from a versatility standpoint, if I'm looking at something and I don't want to be locked down to one focal length, I think if you're a portrait photographer, primes are 100% your way to go. Like you've got your 85 and you're probably set. But when you're out shooting landscapes, you want to be able to have the versatility to go from like a 24, which is relatively wide, to a 70, which isn't like super zoomed in, but can still allow you to get close enough and pick up some details on stuff. And especially if light is changing really quickly, like you may only have 30 seconds to get a shot and you want to get more than one. You want to get a couple different comps. And
if you're digging through your bag looking for that stupid lens and then the cap and
oh yeah, or like what happens if you pull out your 85 thinking that you're going to be, or your 35 thinking like you're going to be wide enough for the shot and you really needed your 24, then like how much time is spent switching between the lenses? It'd be a lot. As long as you've got a really, the downside is that 24-70 is like a $2,200 lens. It's not cheap. A $2,400 lens, whatever the hell it costs, was a lot. But if money's no object and you can just pick, I'll take a really nice zoom for the versatility.
yeah. This or that, Papa John's or Domino's?
I'll say Domino's for a couple of reasons. Papa John's is a racist asshole, which we've already covered earlier in the program. And so they've got that garlic butter.
Ooh.
Papa John's. And I know it's a crowd favorite, but I passed out in my room in college in my fraternity. And for whatever reason, this fraternity brother of mine came into my room and he poured it into my ear while I was asleep. And I never heard the same out of that ear. So fuck it, Domino's. He literally damaged my left ear, man. It's never been the same after that. It's somewhere deep in the recess of that ear is some racist ass garlic butter. So yeah, let's say Domino's.
All right, Domino's it is.
Although I won't even get into that story. Let's move on.
Since you are a product of U of I, Champagne or Urbana?
Stupid.
Let's say Champagne. I guess Urbana is the busted ass half of that city, but I could be wrong on that. It's just the more rural part. I mean, Champagne's the more like urban part, even though Urbana has got the word urban in it. I'm done talking.
All right. Camera or drone?
Ooh. Drone camera.
My camera.
Such a tough call, man. I'll say camera, but drones are I mean camera for sure. But the now that they're putting better cameras and better sensors in drones that are more consumer grade, it is a harder decision. But you're a drone shot. That's not to say, I mean, if you go out and spend $10,000 on a drone, you're going to get some phenomenal shots, but you're not doing portrait photography with it. You're not doing a million other things. Yeah.
Right.
You know, the hair's blowing all over the place.
Hey, that could be a thing. That could be like a whole series.
I'm sure it is already, but yeah, I mean, drones are awesome because you literally can put a tripod anywhere you want in the sky in 3D space and take a picture of it.
Yeah.
But
they're getting
when you're talking about like consumer grade camera options, like, and without spending $10,000, you're not getting the image quality that you're going to get with a DSLR or mirrorless, whatever. You're just not. So I'll go camera.
Okay, last one. The city that doesn't sleep, or my kind of town, Chicago is.
No, I got it without the last part with the Chicago, but I can't not say Chicago.
Yeah.
Because I live here, like, you know, it's my hometown. Like, I love the city. From a photography standpoint, New York's probably got the edge. Because every corner of New York, like every single nook and cranny of that city there's something to shoot. There just is.
Yeah.
And the bridges, man, the bridges set it over the top for me because I cannot get enough of shooting the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge. Like, Chicago's got better architecture, in my opinion. Like, I like the way the skyline looks. And I like that. I like the lake, like people, it's got the beach, like it's got that, like right in the heart of the city. That you don't get that vibe from New York. But from a photographer's standpoint, I might have to give it to New York.
Yeah, I can see that.
But
There's a lot
they're awesome for different reasons.
Right.
I mean, you have to kind of separate it out. I mean, as a city, I'm going to choose Chicago, but for photography, I might have to choose New York.
Nice. Cool. That's it for that. Thanks for playing. Which means, do you have a couple? This is the part where we look at artist inspiration. Do you have a couple minutes to go through some of these?
Yeah, man. I got a couple minutes for that.
All right, cool. So I wanted to show you guys. I wanted to get someone who blends the photography and the illustration together. So we're going to take a look at, I forget his name, but Brissot. I can't remember his first name though. Anyway. So yeah, this kid, he likes to take portraits and then he just does basically photographic graffiti. And a lot of his stuff is like, some of it, not gonna lie, some of his new stuff isn't the strongest I've ever seen, but he does have some really cool stuff. I found him because he was doing a live stream with Adobe. So it's just real cool stuff like this where
for sure
he does the mashup of, this looks like Sean Kemp, but I don't think that's him. I don't know who the hell that is. Beast.
Who would even know who Sean Kemp is anymore?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely a throwback. Sean Kemp was a bad mamma jamma back in the day.
He was. We've had a lot of really old school. Maybe there's a Blockbuster movie about him somewhere.
So yeah, this guy got noticed because of this really cool style. I haven't really seen anyone do this yet, where he just takes portraits and different photographs and just touches them up all graffiti like.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen people do illustration and photography combined, but that's he's. I mean, I think there's so much stuff out there these days. Like, I think the stuff that does really best on social, and that's not to say that it's not. Like I said, social is not the judge of whether something's good or not, but I think it resonates with people because it's ownable. Like he's got something that's his and not anybody else's. And it's so hard because so much it's so saturated, especially as a photographer. Like, you know, if you don't have an unlimited budget to travel everywhere, like, you know, and you shoot a certain thing, like it's hard to have something that's totally ownable. Like, that's what I think what everybody struggles with is kind of finding their style. And then you know, somebody comes along and does something like this, where it's like, that's clearly that dude's, that's his jam. Like, that's what he does. You know, like, you can look at this and be like, oh yeah, Curvin did that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
so
that.
you have, I mean, you definitely have to admire people that have gone and kind of created their own thing that's ownable.
Yeah, I believe he is in New York, which makes all of this work make more sense. Because New York is where graffiti was born, and it's a strong influence in obviously the hip hop community, because that's where hip hop was also born. But
one of the pillars.
I just love the just the mashup of what he does.
For sure, man. It's cool. I like his stuff.
And then
I hadn't seen it before, but I definitely dig it.
Then you have a random like 3D building on there. So yeah, we'll put the link in the show notes. BRISSEAUX.com. Brisso. Oh, here's a little animated one. Yeah, go girl. It's a little animated jacket. So yeah, check him out. Good dude. I hung out with him well, I didn't hang out with him. I was watching him stream with Adobe a handful of months ago. Oh, here's, what's her name? I don't remember her name.
Samir Wiley?
Orange is the New Black.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, handle that. Brisso.com. Charles, would you like to go next?
Sure. So, keeping with the photography thing, I have somebody this week, but a little different. Here we go. All right. So, my artist this week is a guy by the name Ian Spriggs, and he is not a photographer, but he does 3D portraits. So he's a 3D character artist, and his portraits are badass. So here's one.
This is a 3D.
Yes,
model?
it's 3D. Yes, it's 3D model. Yep.
Oh, sweet
So
Christ.
this is the portrait. Looks pretty amazeballs, as you can see. You know, get the detail, the hair, and all that good stuff. Let's pull it back here.
Are you sure that's not his reference?
No,
Singularity
that's
is coming.
super real.
Don't worry, I got this all set up for you.
Oh, there you go.
Boom.
Golly.
This is 3D.
Get the F out of here, man.
Using
That guy conjured that from nothing?
Yeah. Photo references.
How is that possible?
Oh my goodness.
If I was wearing pants, I would have just shit him right now.
You and Jack are from the same club. Yeah, into badass 3D artists, man. His portraits are badass.
Jesus.
So once again, you know, I have to show you the amazingness.
And it's not even that just he's an incredibly skilled 3D modeler. Like these would actually just be good photos. Like he also just God.
Right. Right. The layout is really good.
The comp, the lighting, the color, it got everything.
Which is a perfect example of something that we always talk about is if you're drawing something to bring life into whatever it is that you're creating, have that subject in the middle of doing something. This guy is in the middle of chilling and he looks super real. And there's how many people have 3D models that are just like in T-pose. And you're just like, okay, cool. Yeah. It's a pretty cool model. But you take your model, you toss them into a relaxing position. All of a sudden, people don't believe you that it's a model.
Yeah, this one gets a little harder, but it's cool. It's cool still. She looks a little dead, but it's all good.
Yeah, a little waxy there, but it's looking more like on the painterly side.
Yeah, because that kid just freaks me out.
Yeah, he's definitely going to come into your room at night and gnaw the back of your brain out.
No kid should wear that black of a black shirt, you know.
Right.
Ever.
So real quick, we have Ghoul7 Kutrup in the chat. Hello, welcome. And he or she said, "How TF is that even possible?"
That's right.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, he got some just cool like this models just where he's getting creative too. Don't forget. Like,
yeah, I was gonna
do
say,
those
and the
too.
cool thing is that he has a lot of super realistic stuff, and he's not stuck in the like in the. We flipped through a couple of his things where it's a mummy, and then he's got a bunch of other stuff that's just like generally speaking, when people have this much skill, they get bogged down in like meching everything out, or zombies, or a wizard, or whatever. This guy's just taking normal people, putting them in normal poses, and it looks absolute. Look at that dude's hand. Are you serious? It looks super real, super bananas.
Yeah, something's a little off with his eyes.
Yeah, eyes are one of the hardest things to do.
But
Get him to look
that's
right.
I mean, other than that, and like if somebody showed me this, the only reason I would even think to say anything about it is because I know it's not real. I'd never even think twice about it if I just saw a picture of him.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Carlos, were you there when that guy came in and talked about how they made Benjamin Button?
No.
You what?
Who came in and talked? That was probably somebody I worked with.
It was like the guy that was the head of the
Steve Prieg.
project. I don't remember what his name was.
It was either probably Steve Prieg or Eric Barba.
Maybe it was Eric. If I saw his face, I might recognize him, but it just blew my mind how they did all that stuff.
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah, that was a nutty. I would say though, even judging off this guy's work, as amazing as the stills look, animation will kill this instantly.
Yes. You could tell when
Instantly.
when he moves the camera, right?
Because we had they had Benjamin and Jeff Bridges and Tron. They had that down. Like you could not tell that it was which ones were photos and which ones were.
Yeah.
And then it moved, and you're like,
you could tell.
we lost it.
Yeah, when you move it, yeah.
Yeah, well, if anyone gets a chance to, I'm sure they have like I actually found it because I think I was talking about it to somebody. Maybe you can put the link in or something like that. But it's just the most fascinating thing. It blew my mind on how they were able to do it based on the technology that was available at the time, and then what they were able to do in order to make it perfect. Because they had to basically invent that technology to get it to work. It just totally blew my mind. I had no idea how much went into it and what they needed to do to get it to be like that. It was just, I just thought it was like such a cool story.
And if you're interested, check out. There was a series of Orville Redenbacher spots
Oh yeah.
where they brought a CG version of him, and they're awful. I mean, they're just not well made commercials. But then on top of it, the CG version just was not very successful. But that was literally the whole purpose of those was David Fincher's testing ground for Benjamin Buttons, basically. So the studio started research on that, and it sort of became what Buttons is. So if you check those out, just if you're interested to sort of see like where it came from.
Yeah, apparently that script had been around for decades, but they knew in order to make the movie that it had to be the same character playing Benjamin the entire time. That it couldn't have been different actors, and for that reason, no one ever picked the script up until then, and they finally were able to figure out a way to do it. So I don't know. I just thought it was really fascinating how they had the technology to do it.
Cool. Well, on the photography note, this is maybe somewhat simplistic, but I like what we were talking about earlier about just shooting. If you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of travel time, you don't have you can shoot everyday things. And this girl just kills still lives. It actually, and I hated still lives in school, both photography and drawing. But this actually makes me want to go back and draw some. And on top of it, most of them are food, which you know how me and Carlos get down with our food and our baking.
Gluten Brothers.
The Gluten Brothers. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of her street photography. It's good, but it's the food and the everyday objects that she's really killing.
Yeah, just the way it's shot, it really puts you there for whatever reason. You can feel what it's like to be there. I don't know how to describe that from a photographic, technical standpoint, but it's just the mood that's created in there is very tactile almost.
Yeah.
And food, food's one of those kind of hard things to photograph and still make appetizing. And she does it while still maintaining a lot of the natural aspects of it. This really, to me, feels like what it would look like growing out of the ground, and it's got a lot of natural light, and it looks appetizing, and yet it looks real. It doesn't look really manipulated. It doesn't look
yeah.
It doesn't look studio. I mean, it could be a studio shot.
That's what she wants you to think.
Yeah. It's not harder than it looks, though. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I would try to take and
that looks like a painting.
Throw it away.
To me, that looks like a painting. That's just kind of the lines and the softness and the flowers.
It's beautiful.
But when you get it right,
It's got crazy engagement too for the type of photography that this is.
Yeah, it's super specific, but I feel like this is perfect for social and Pinterest world and all the
Etsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a niche audience for sure.
Yeah.
But it's really well done, so
I'm in.
I mean, this is the type of stuff that you'd want in your cookbook, right? Here, photograph my food.
Yeah.
Especially right now with such a huge online food presence. Yeah. This one's interesting because it's not even, when you really look at it, it's actually pretty poor quality. It's technically not good, but it's still a great photo. Like you were talking about iPhone photos and all this. There's a lot of and it could be Instagram too, but some of this stuff is oddly out of focus and all that, but it's still a pretty good photo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's based in St. Petersburg, and as far as I can tell, she really only shoots in and around. So, Mimi Brune, and she is.
Go Mimi.
Yeah. Mimi _ Brune.
You know what's funny is right when you said St. Petersburg, all of this made sense because this is Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is exactly Europe.
And not just Europe. This is Eastern Europe. I mean, this has that flair. It has that, all the objects even that knife, nobody in the States has that knife. It's just not happening.
Or if they do, it's somewhere in the garage, a can of putty or something.
It's dirty now.
That's totally true. Yeah. Cool. Check them out.
I'm already following her. I love her work. Mike, you dropped a couple artist inspirations, and if you don't mind, I will share Gabe Rodriguez.
Yep.
Cool. And then if you want,
Mind's Eye is another guy that was a huge inspiration for me. And he's just a phenomenally good photographer. I mean, it's not just like his editing that's good. He's like his shooting is really good too. I've actually shot with him a number of times. We took a road trip in the Southwest with him and this my other friend Brandon. But that dude's really good. Jason Peters exceptionally good. He's one of the people that actually got me into photography to begin with. His black and white stuff is, again, like you want to talk about ownability. Like that dude owns those shots. Like that's really you look at a shot and you're like, that's a Jason Peterson. Like you know it's his. Yeah. So I put him in there. Danny Moda was a huge inspiration to me. Like I like a lot of the color stuff that I like the way he uses color. He uses real vibrant color. I'd say like starting out, like those were kind of the people that inspired me the most. I mean, there's tons and tons of people. Like Michael Shaneblum is phenomenal. Like that dude's work is, and his time-lapse stuff is just mind-blowing. And then, yeah, when you want to talk about video work, Andy 2 is great, and Dan Markermore is also great. So, I mean, I could sit here and name off a million people, but
let's take a look at Mind's Eye. Is this the guy? I want to make sure we're bringing up the right one.
I don't have.
How about now?
Yeah, that's the stuff.
MINDZ.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
His stuff's just super polished. Like every single pixel is perfect in every one of his shots. It's just you're never gonna find anything wrong with anything. It's just always perfect.
And this is funny because this is a picture of New York City, but it throws you back to like, what is that? Gangs of New York.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, his stuff is. I mean, I've spent a lot of time shooting with that dude, and I was just like, oh, like he's just a really good editor. I remember that shot. That was that was on our road trip that we took together at a place called Goosenecks. But
this guy.
Yeah, that was a like wild sunset we had. But his like what he does in camera is just as impressive as what he does in post. Like he gets the shot as perfect as it can be in camera.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing too, like that he kind of taught me is like, you know, if you have a very challenging shot or you can't just get it with one frame, like a lot of times you're shooting one exposure for the sky and one exposure for the foreground, or maybe you're shooting multiple different exposures for the foreground and you're focus stacking. Like, you know, you have to take a number of different photographs in at different places that you're focusing in the foreground, and then you stack them all together in post. But like taught me about shooting different pieces of a photograph, you know, about concentrating on certain elements of it. Yeah, that is one of his favorite shots that he's ever taken in Toronto. And this is like the other thing too, right? Like we were talking about earlier, is that, you know, it's like, oh yeah, well, do you know how much money do you have to travel? He took a picture of a streetlight. That's all that is. It's a freaking streetlight.
He went outside. It's pretty cheap.
He went outside. That could be any corner in any city, anywhere. There happened to be snow falling, and the light just happened to be perfect. Yeah. He took a great shot, and he edited it really well. So, you know, you don't have to go to Bali to get an awesome shot.
Right. For sure.
You know, it's like stuff like this is proof positive that it just takes a good eye. Going wherever this is.
Do you go too crazy with HDR, or do you just kind of take a couple pictures and you work with that?
I mean, ideally you'd like to get it all in one frame.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just not an option.
Yeah.
Or, okay, that's not to say it's not an option, but if the option is, it's a lot better if you take multiple exposures.
Yeah.
Because, or, you know, I mean, I'll bracket shots that I'm shooting directly, and it's not like HDR. Like HDR has like a look to it that's kind of dated at this point. I know some people still do it really well, but Yeah, I mean, if I'm shooting directly into the sun and I'm exposing for the shadows in one shot and the highlights in another, then you got to blend them together in Photoshop. There's just no way around it because I don't want to lose the detail in the sky and I don't want to lose the detail in the shadows.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this dude's work he's on another level.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's that eye that you have or you have to develop. And this is good stuff.
Well, he does a great job of, like, I'm not so, like, there's certain shots, like the shot that we talked about earlier where the cab is streaking by that tower of the Manhattan Bridge. Like, that shot looked exactly in my mind as it did when I was finished with it. I'm not that good at that. A lot of times I discover my final shot during the edit. I think what Mike excels at is knowing exactly what the final image is going to look like when he's shooting it. So he knows exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And because he can be efficient with the way he's shooting, because he knows exactly how he wants it to look, he can get a bunch of different stuff, whereas I might dwell on something for a long period of time to take a bunch of different shots and a bunch of different angles in hopes that I'll figure it out kind of later. He's got it figured out when he takes the shot.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He's just really talented, man. He's good.
Yeah. Which makes it easier because if you know what you're reaching for, you know what shots you need to take. And then it'll be, I mean, for him, the hard work is already done even before he pulls the camera out.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times the hard work is getting it right in camera too. I mean, there's certain shots that are relatively easy to take, and there's other shots that are a bitch.
Yeah.
You know, it's you're out in, you know, temperatures below zero, doing 3-minute exposures for the foreground here, and, you know, 30-second exposures for the sky, and then a 5-minute exposure for this part, and you've got to make sure it's focused, and like there's no white, so you're having to put a flashlight on something to get the focus right. I mean, it'd take you 20 minutes to pull off what's going to be one shot just shooting it. So
yeah,
I think that last shot he shot with a phone. Yep, that's a Galaxy Note 9 shot.
Yeah.
So
2 words for beginning photographers: tripod.
Yeah, for some shots, yeah. Most of the shots you can do handheld now these days. I mean, I've done half-second and sometimes even second-long exposures handheld.
Whoa.
The image stabilization technology in that Sony is top-notch, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm selling everything. Going Sony.
That's another one of his like iconic shots.
That's a cool one.
Making my city look good.
Right.
Never think that was Chicago in in 2015 or 2016 whenever he shot this.
Yeah.
Nuts.
It looks like something out of an old movie.
It looks like it's indoors.
But the story that was behind the shot was he was sitting there. I think he was taking pictures of the train or something like that, and he wasn't paying attention to this area right here. And then he just kind of turned and he saw that light, and he was like, "Oh my God, what the hell am I shooting this train for?" And then he went and got this shot. Wow. I've actually I wanted to go to that spot and shoot this, and I did, but I never posted it because this is his shot. I mean, no one else has this shot. This is clearly a comp that he has that no one else has, so I didn't want to post it.
This is cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's a dope shot, man. It's really well done.
Mine's MINDZ .EYE.
Yeah.
For your what? Come on, son.
He's good, dude.
Even you're a badass when God is like, here, let me hook you up a little bit.
Well, but that's the thing, dude. And he describes what it's not like this is one frame. That's 5. It's a blend of 5 direct lightning strikes on the CN Tower taken
Yeah.
from a time lapse. Like he literally, knowing him, he might have sat out there for 3 hours to get those 5 strikes. That would not surprise me at all.
Yeah.
At all. That he would just sit there for 5 hours or whatever just to get those strikes. It could have happened in 20 minutes, who knows? But
Yeah.
he's the kind of guy that would sit there for that long because he wants that. That's the shot he had in his mind. He wants it. There's a lot of stuff you'll do if you want a shot real bad.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. We'll put his links in
Yep.
the
Will do.
show notes.
Cool.
So if people want to catch up to your work, Mike, where can they find it?
Instagram's probably the place I keep everything most current. So it's just mmeyers76, mmeyers76, and then there's links to my portfolio site is on there. But I would say that's probably the place to keep most current. That's where I post all my stuff first.
Awesome. Thanks again for taking time to come and hang out with us.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
Yeah, man,
thanks for
thanks.
having me. Ruined any future partnerships that you have with the University of Illinois or Papa John's. But
Don't worry, we've pooped on quite a few schools on this show.
good. Yeah, take a fat watery one all over Champaign-Urbana.
Hey, Charlie, how about you?
You can find me at my portfolio website, which is called collective.com/Charlie B. Williams. You can find me on Instagram, instagram.com/CharlieBW3, almighty Pinterest, pinterest.com/CharlieBW3. Check out all that good stuff. Get it in your life.
Yes.
And I'm at
Yeah,
Sketch-
the chat. Hang on, the chat said that must be a sniper discipline. Sitting there waiting for your shot.
Oh, yeah.
like a hunter. Just gotta
Yeah.
sit and wait.
All right, sorry for interrupting, Jack.
No.
Where can people find you?
I'm at sketchbookjack.com and sketchbookjack most other places.
Excellent. And thank you both for being here. I'm Carlos. You can find me at coconutjustice.com, Coconut Justice, everywhere else. The Sketch Zone. You can go to sketch.zone and we have all of our links to all of our socials out there. We're out there everywhere. Even MySpace, if you want to go Throwback Thursday, myspace.com/sketchzone. Sketchzone or Sketchzone podcast.
Sketch
One of those.
friends with Tom.
Yes, we are officially friends with Tom.
Good.
But the easiest thing to do is just go to sketch.zone. This is episode 157. So we have
Nuts.
156 other wonderful episodes that you can catch up to.
Quick aside here. Sorry to interrupt you, man. Do you know how good of a photographer Tom is? MySpace Tom?
Really?
Is that right?
Not kidding you, man. Check out his Instagram. That dude must have made millions of dollars.
Wait, he's on
from
Instagram? That's funny.
He must have made like just a fortune from MySpace, and I think he just retired and he just travels everywhere and shoots. His stuff's really good, man. He's got like hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. Check him out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he is good.
No joke. Right?
He still uses that same damn photo. I love that.
Yeah, it's the
I
same
understood
photo
that.
from MySpace, man.
Ha ha ha. Talk about branding.
But he's good.
Yeah.
He is really good.
Damn. This kid is pretty damn good. We should have had him as artist inspiration.
Yeah, what the hell?
Instagram.com/MySpace Tom. That's awesome. I'm going to take a look at his stuff.
He's really good.
So yeah. Oh, hey, while you're on Instagram and you decide to jump in on this fun prompt, Regal, Chameleon, Bounty Hunter, Trembling, mid-century modern style in a limousine.
You forgot
Good
the
luck.
limousine, homie.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and tag us. Tag us. Let us know that you're still alive after that one. And then we'll share it on the show like we did earlier in this show. And if you can't catch us live, you can obviously catch us on YouTube. The subscribe button is down there somewhere. So go ahead and click that and click the little bell next to it. So you'll be alerted when we go live. Otherwise, if you're watching on Twitch, subscribe button is up there somewhere. Go ahead and hit subscribe up there. And if you can't catch us live, you can catch us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, and of course, iTunes. Thank you, everyone. Ghoul7, thank you for being here. Noel, Joey Wall. There was a few of you. That was a bunch of you guys. Just not many people were talking today. But anyway, yeah. Remember, Regal, Chameleon, Bounty Hunter, Trembling in a Limousine in a mid-century modern style. There have been already some comments on Instagram.
All right.
It's going to be fun to see what happens next week. Hey, everyone. Have a wonderful week.
See ya.